Okay. So 1757 to 1857, that is very much important. So many questions asked. The East India Company's rule, their major territorial conquests are there, their policy of what is called ring fence, their policy of subsidiary alliance, doctrine of labs, subordinate isolation, subordinate union, and their education policy, their revenue policy like Zamindari, Mahalwari, Rayotwari settlements, their constitutional reforms like Regulating Act 1773, Charter Act 1813, 1833, 1853, okay, and their what is called industrial mercantile policies, trade policies, one-way free trade policy, okay, and how this colonial rule affected Indian economy, Indian geopolitics, Indian society, Indian farmers, Indian artisans, Indian women, and what were Indian responses to this British rule, okay, how this drain of wealth happened here, what are home charges, what was railway scam, you know, or what were the civil services reforms, Cornwallis reforms, what were their police reforms, their judicial reforms, okay, all those things we will cover from 1757 to 1857. In fact, one of the most messiest, most confusing area. In fact, a good number of questions are framed from this area. Got it? Then it is from 1857 to 1885. Significant. This is something, the era of rise of nationalism. The era of nationalism. Am I right? The era of nationalism. And of course, we will cover so many socio-religious awakening, socio-religious reformers, cultural awakening, etc. here in the what is called this particular 19th century. Okay, what were the major socio-religious reformers, revivalists, their organizations, movements, and what are their contributions to national awakening? Okay, so there are many factors contributed to rise of nationalism, national awakening, and see, culminated with the very formation of INC. 1885 I said because it is formation of INC. First ever a pan-Indian organization for coordinating these what is called national aspirations, agitations, etc. So 1885. Then we will go to 1885 to 1905. This age is important. Why 1885 to 1905? That was the first 20 years of this, Indian national movement, which is called the moderate phase. This is called the moderate phase. The first 20 years, moderate phase. The constitutional means of agitation. There is a called prayer, petition, protest kind of agitation. Okay. So the moderate ideologies, moderate methodologies, their contributions, economic criticism, lots of things are there. Then 1905, 1905 to something around 1919, we will say this is extremist phase. 1905 to 1919, something called the extremist phase. That is extremist phase. Then it is 1919 to 1947, let us say this is Gandhian phase. This is Gandhian phase. So these are the different phases you have to cover in this modern India. And we all know that the most important part is that Gandhian phase. Okay, especially the Gandhian phase, so many questions they asked from 1917 or 1915 itself, we shall say, right from Garvapasi of Gandhiji. Okay, so there it's on extremist Gandhian revolutionary phases are very much important till 1947. That doesn't mean that the early eras are insignificant or early eras must be ignored. Not like that. UPC always, leave a surprise for you in every prelims examination. So make sure 1707 to 1947 is nicely covered. 17, what is that? 1707, right from death of Aurangzeb. 1707 to 1947 is nicely covered so that no question is missed from modern India. The weightage also can be, sometimes you see UPC asked more number of questions from modern India. Sometimes they asked a less number of questions from modern India. So the trend can be reversed anytime. Okay, lots of years, more number of questions asked from modern India, less number of questions from ancient medieval India. But few years we have seen they reversed the trend. Now again back to the older track, more number of questions from modern India. So please cover 1707 to 1707 to 1947. 1707 to 1947. So this is something we will cover in this modern India. Let us start the session. Yes, we have to start with the very arrival of these Europeans. Can you just make a guess, the order of the European arrival? Who comes first, who comes last? Yeah, we know that it is all like we start with this very Portuguese, am I right? Yeah, there comes this Portuguese and then comes, then comes, come on say, then comes, yeah, it was Dutch, then comes, yes, it was British, then comes, yeah, it was Danish. Okay, then comes the French. My question is, why you think the Europeans arrived here? Why the Europeans arrived here? Come on. Eh? Yeah, of course, that is, you said it is for trade. You see, this is to bypass that, what is called, these Turkish, Arab, or Arabic, or these Italian merchants, trade monopolies. This Ottoman Empire monopolized trade routes from Asia to Europe. Over the spice trade, you see, they monopolized the trade routes, land trade routes. To bypass that land trade routes, they have to find the sea routes to Asia, sea routes to India. The, spices, very important for them. Okay, during their harsh winters or their seasons, they have to preserve these, food items, or maybe even for dead bodies also, you see. So the spices are very important for them. Now the spice trade is dominated by, monopolized by Arab merchants and these Venetian merchants. Okay, even the fall of Constantinople. Okay, the Turkish invasions and the fall of Constantinople, it was a potential threat to this, what is called, yes, direct access, or maybe a potential threat to this spice access, etc. So these Europeans were looking for, a bypass sea trade route connecting with this spices trade with this India. Am I right? So that was the major reason why these Europeans arrived in India one by one, starting with the Portuguese. Then there is Dutch, there is British, Danish, and the French. But in order to understand this, you must also see what were the geopolitical conditions in India when the Europeans arrived. When the Europeans arrived, Portuguese comes, Dutch comes, British comes, Danish, French, and ultimately this, British become the master of this game. Am I right? British become the master of the games. But you must understand what was the situation in Indian subcontinent when these Europeans arrived. Can you make some guess? Yes, there you must understand two situations. One is, yes, later Mughals and this, rise of regional kingdoms. You please try to understand when the Europeans arrived here. Yeah, before that I will give you a picture how this modern India will work out. The basic timeline, maybe you follow this, this. We start with this, 1498 to 1600. What does it mean? 1498 to 1600, what does it mean? This is advent of Europeans. So you actually start with this advent of Europeans, European arrival. UPC already asked you questions here. They asked about Dutch. They asked about these French, British East India companies. Okay. They asked about what were these commodities imported and exported. Yeah. So they already asked you questions from this area. You should have an idea the arrival of these Europeans, okay, and how this British mercantile dominance over the rival powers. British becomes successful in the European company, in the European arrivals, only one becomes successful. Why British becomes successful? From 1498 onwards, Europeans started coming India. First was Portuguese Vasco da Gama. You know the story of arrival of Vasco da Gama. Okay, in the south, Kerala, in Calicut, meeting the Samudri and see the trade negotiations, and this Francis de Almeida, then Albergo, Portuguese governors, how they set the rules in the south, and there is a Carter system, blue water policy. Okay, they are imposing these taxes on these ships passing in the Indian Ocean. Okay, so Portuguese arrival and Portuguese trade negotiations, their trade, religious policies, etc. Okay, fine. So these people, Europeans arrived, but the only one become, the territorial power. Trading power to territorial power, that is British East India Company. What can be the reason for the success of British? What can be the reason for the success of British? Eh? First of all, British East India Company, it was a state-backed, a state-backed joint stock trading concern. Joint stock trading concern. Am I right? ശരിയല്ലേ? British East India Company, മറ്റുള്ള കമ്പനീസിന്റെ ഒക്കെ പ്രത്യേകത, they acted as a state department. Most of the shares and most of the investment by the state governments, and they don't have that independency, autonomy. But British East India Company, please try to understand, by 1600 Royal Charter Act, created as a joint stock trading concern. It is a private, trading company having full autonomy over decision making and fully supported by this, home government. Okay, so it can make independent decisions and it is financially independent, and decision making point of view, it enjoys the autonomy, and it has very capable leaders here. Right from the beginning, Robert Clive is there, Warren Hastings is there, Cornwallis is there, Wellesley is there, Hastings is there, or Dalhousie is there. Such very powerful leaders or governor generals it had. And three prominent, bases it had in India. There is Kolkata, there is Madras, there is Bengal. Opposite side, you see other rival European powers don't have such powerful naval bases here. For example, for French East India Company, they have only landlocked to Pondicherry. It is not a resourceful region. Okay, so multiple factors contributed to rise of this British East India Company as the most powerful mercantile force comparing with the other Europeans. You understand my English? You understand my language? Should I convert to Malayalam? For online students, I think if non-Malayalis, they won't understand. Are you comfortable with my language? You understand? My pronunciation, phonetics, everything is fine? Okay, na? Fine. So see, the first story is arrival of Europeans. Out of the Europeans, I said it once again, the order you follow, because timeline is very important. You remember there is a question, UPC asked, I don't remember the entire sentences, but there was a sentence, a statement like this: Dutch established their settlements in an area they bought from Gajapati rulers, something like that. But you must understand that Dutch comes only after, after Portuguese, after Portuguese, you see Dutch comes here. Gajapati rulers were rulers of the 15th centuries or just beginning of the 16th century. You see, these people are in the 17th century. Am I right? So that timeline is not matching. Just because of that reason, if you eliminate that from that logical timeline point of view, that question is answerable. I will show the question. So understanding the timeline part is very important. Please try to understand. Portuguese, Dutch, British, Danish, and finally the French. Last to come here, that is the French. That is the French. The Carnatic Wars were fought between British East India Company and French East India Company. Carnatic Wars, that is Anglo-French Wars. They are fought between British East India Company and French East India Company. And the final episode was the Battle of Vandivash. You remember? Battle of Vandivash. UPC can ask a question, this battle is fought between which powers? Or what is that treaty concluded this particular battle, that particular battle? This way also they can ask the questions. Okay, so the first story is about the European arrivals and how these British eliminated other European rivals, how they established themselves to be the trading monopoly, and how they gradually shifted from trading monopoly to a territorial power. Then second episode is 1757 to 64. See, this is very important because that was a very significant era in the modern history. Plassey battle and Buxar battle. Plassey battle, one side it was Sirajud-Dowlah. One side it is Sirajud-Dowlah. You remember, he was the Bengal Nawab and he made lots of reforms in the administration. Okay, he checked the corruptions and many things many improvisations brought into administration. Bengal was an independent state then. Okay, Then Sirajuddaula was a powerful ruler. Then what he asked these British and French companies not to interfere in my business. Not to interfere in my business, and don't do fortifications without my permission. You have factories in Kolkata, fine, super fine. But fortifying your factories, don't do that without my permission. British, French never listened to him. Okay, there are illegal fortifications and deploying their soldiers. Sirajuddaula was very angry. Okay, with his force, he entered this Fort William. Okay, there is a war, there is a battle, or there is, you see that these European soldiers are, surrendered, and some soldiers are put in a, small cell in that Fort William. And next day when opened, that soldiers, many died. That was called the Black Hole tragedy. Am I right? Am I right? You correct me if I am wrong here. Black Hole tragedy. So this Black Hole tragedy triggered this first Plassey battle. It was rather than a battle, it was, it was an episode of betrayal. It was a great betrayal. Sirajuddaula betrayed by his own people. Yes, Mir Jafar is there and many others. Okay, this what is very, very, very powerful peoples in this Bengal administration. They betrayed Sirajuddaula. They sided with the Robert Clive. So the people of Sirajuddaula, Robert Clive, this army from this Madras regiment, you see, they are one side. Robert Clive and other people, Admiral Watson, so many people, and these peoples of this Sirajuddaula. Opposite side is Sirajuddaula. And you just try to understand, it is a battle of few hours only. Sirajuddaula was easily defeated because his own people betrayed him. But Plassey is very significant because it opened this entry of East India Company into this, eastern provinces, Bengal, Bihar, Odisha, the most richest provinces of the time. They got an entry, free trade entry into this, Bengal, Bihar, or they got control over this, resources of this, resources and revenues of this Bengal, Bihar, Odisha. That was the entry point. That was the turning point. It was shift from medieval to modernism or medieval to colonialism. You got the point? Now, Buxar is what? Buxar is, you imagine, that is 1760. Plassey is 1757. Buxar is 1764. What happened in the Buxar? You must understand that 3 Indian powers are defeated. Who are the 3 Indian powers? Come on, say. Yes, that is this Nawab of Bengal is there. Then this Mughal ruler Shah Alam II is there. Awadh ruler is there. Shuja-ud-Dawla, am I right? So the 3 Indian powers fought against the British. Hector Munro something, am I right? Opposite side British East India Company. This side you see, yes, this Bengal Nawab is there. Mir Qasim is there. Mir Qasim is there. Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II is there. And this, Awadh ruler Shuja-ud-Dawla is there. 3 Indian powers and a huge force, around 60,000 soldiers. They fought against just 6,000 or 7,000 soldiers of British East India Company. In fact, it was a decisive battle, and you must understand it was a decisive victory for East India Company. A huge Indian force is defeated by just 6,000 British soldiers, highly trained, modernized, these, British soldiers. That was a decisive victory for this British. For this British. Now you understand that Buxar is, that it consolidated the fate of British East India Company in Indian soil. Okay. A trading concern became a territorial power by Treaty of Allahabad. No doubt there is Treaty of Allahabad, 1765. By the Treaty of Allahabad, British East India Company got the Diwani rights of Bengal, Bihar, Odisha. No longer they are trading company, they are territorial power. Okay, they become the territorial power, and the first pensioner of Mughal Empire, Shah Alam II. See, Shah Alam for the first time become the pensioner of this British East India Company. Okay. If Plassey opened this, opened the platform of Eastern India, you must understand Buxar, it almost strengthened this British rule in North India. 3 Indian powers are defeated. Okay, so try to understand who are the parties to Plassey battle, Buxar battle, what are the treaties included, what are the outcomes of the battles. Okay, that's important for you. Then you see, there is 1798 to 1856. You must understand that this is an age of, conquest of India. Military conquest, military expeditions are there, And through their policies, they conquered Indian states here. You remember subsidiary alliance? What was subsidiary alliance? Subsidiary alliance. Yeah, that is, you see, yes, to an Indian power, Indian state, British is supplying these British troops, highly trained European troops. For that, he has to pay that annual tribute. Okay, you have to dismantle, you have to dismiss your own soldiers, and my European soldiers, will be at your territory. They will protect you. Anytime I can recall them. Okay, for which you have to pay me annual tribute. If you fail, half of your territory would be annexed. So that is subsidiary alliance. Then there is doctrine of lapse, you remember? What was that doctrine of lapse? Yes, if an Indian ruler is not having a natural biological heir, okay, his adopted son is not having that right to inherit the property or to become the next ruler, automatically that state is lapsed or added to British. So through doctrine of lapse, through subsidiary alliance, and through many policies, policy of ring fence, etc., creating buffer zones, through many policies, they annexed Indian states here. They expanded this, they expanded this British Empire. And through military expeditions, you remember, there is Anglo-Mysore war is there, Anglo-Maratha war is there, Anglo-Sikh war is there, Sindh annexation is there. Through many, military expeditions and through these diplomatic policies, they expanded this British Empire, and the company ruled this, vast, terrain of this Indian subcontinent. Okay, so that is the history of this colonial rule, and what all the policies they devised, how they how they cunningly extracted the wealth of the nation. Multiple things you will cover there. Then see 1857 to 58, you must understand, this is another major episode. That is the first time there is, an aggressive agitation against this British 1857 revolt. So the causes of the revolt, consequences of the revolt, parties involved in the revolt, that is important for you. Similar way, tribal uprisings are there, civil rebellions are there. Okay, that has to be studied in connection with this. Now see, 1885, this era is significant because it is rise of Indian National Congress or birth of Indian National Congress. First time a pan-India based, yes, an organized anti-British agitation starts with this very birth of INC. It has moderate phase, extremist phase, revolutionary phase, and finally Gandhian phase. Okay, then you come across 1905. This is division here. 1885 to 1905, that is moderate phase. 1905, a significant event happened, that was Swadeshi movement, anti-Bengal partition. Okay, Bengal partition, anti-Bengal partition, Swadeshi movement. So that was, something, the turning point for the rise of this extremist in Indian National Congress. Okay, rise of extremist in Indian National Congress. So extremist phase, that will go up to, till the arrival of Gandhiji. Then you see there comes Gandhiji and Gandhian phase is there. So Swadeshi boycott, etc. Then 1920, it's not 1920, I would say 1919. Why I say 1919? Why I say 1919? Come on, make some noise. Because Gandhiji's first pan-India satyagraha, that was Rowlatt satyagraha. That was Rowlatt satyagraha. His local satyagrahas, you remember, after his Garvapasi from South Africa, he was engaged in some local satyagrahas. You remember the local satyagrahas? What are they? Champaran satyagraha is there, Kheda is there, Ahmedabad mill strike is there. Okay, Champaran, Kheda, Ahmedabad mill strikes, Again election? No? What is happening? Oh. So what is it? Kheda, Ahmedabad and this Champaran, they are the localized satyagrahas led by Gandhi. His first pan-Indian satyagraha, that was Rowlatt satyagraha. It was against Rowlatt Act. Then comes non-cooperation movement, CDM movement, Quit India movement, etc. Okay. 1930, civil disobedience movement. 1942, Quit India movement. And finally, 46 to 47, Many things are happening, especially that Rhine mutiny. You remember INA trial agitations, Rhine mutiny, finally cabinet mission arrival, then things are happening, then this riot and all, okay, Constituent Assembly elections, interim government formations, and finally communal riots, then arrival of Mountbatten, then what was that? It was, yeah, Indian Independence Act. Okay. So this is just an idea. You please try to understand. You just close that, this one. Just close it. Much noise from outside. Comments here, because I will not be looking in. So the thing is, so I hope online students, the audio is clear to you. Echo problem is solved. I think so. Okay, so please take care. This is the way you have to cover modern India. This is just an outline I am giving you. There, I said, modern India, you start with the very decline of the Mughal Empire and later Mughals, because they already asked questions from this area. For example, Third Panipat Battle, or Nadir Shah's invasions, Ahmad Shah Abdali's, Maratha war, that Panipat war. So they already asked questions both in prelims and mains. Have an idea who are, because നിങ്ങൾ മനസ്സിലാക്കേണ്ടത് എന്തെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ഈ later Mughals largely responsible for creating a power vacuum, and that was effectively utilized by these Marathas, later by this British. So who are the later, who are the later Mughals and what are the events associated with them? Just to have an idea, very simple. Okay, so later Mughals, after death of this Aurangzeb, first comes Bahadur Shah. First comes Bahadur Shah. Bahadur Shah, you see, 1707 to 1712 only. 1707 to 1712. After that, there comes Jahandar Shah. Jahandar Shah just 1 year, 1712 to 1713 only. Okay, da vannu da poi. That is Jahandar Shah. Okay, that time actually the king was, Zulfikar Khan, or let us say that the real power was in the hands of the Zulfikar Khan, and he introduced a system called the Ijra system, which was asked by UPC. What is Ijra system? What was Ijra system? Ijra system. Come on here, say Ijra system. Any guess? Okay, Bahadur Shah, just look into this. Bahadur Shah, 1707 to 1712. He faced rebellions from Sikhs and this released Maratha Prince Shahu. And see, Aurangzebinte kore policies അദ്ദേഹം റിവേഴ്സ് ചെയ്തു. ഒരു ഗുണമില്ല. ഓക്കെ, നിങ്ങൾ പേടിപ്പിച്ച് രാജ്യം ഭരിക്കുമ്പോൾ അതേ രീതിയിൽ തന്നെ ഫോളോ ചെയ്യണം. പെട്ടെന്നൊരു സുപ്രഭാതത്തിൽ നിങ്ങളെല്ലാവരെയും കെട്ടിപ്പിടിക്കാനും ബ്ലാക്ക് ഫോറസ്റ്റ് വിതരണം ചെയ്യാനും നിന്ന് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ശത്രുക്കൾക്ക് നിങ്ങളെക്കുറിച്ചുള്ള പേടി നഷ്ടപ്പെടും. ശരിയല്ലേ? മറ്റുള്ളവർ അതുവരെ അടങ്ങി നിൽക്കാനുള്ള കാരണം ഔറംഗസേബ് followed such kind of aggressive policies, hostile policies. But all of a sudden you are reversing the policies, means it will not be benefiting you. So this Bahadur Shah reversed many policies of this particular Aurangzeb. So historians say that he is a headless king, Shah-e-Bekabar. Okay, I mean that policies were not suiting that particular time here. Okay, even his policies with the Marathas, policies with the Sikhs, policies with the Rajputs, that was not suiting the time. Anyway, just to see, after him Jahandar Shah. So Jahandar Shah, you must understand, yes, during his time the real kingmaker was Zulfikar Khan. Real kingmaker was Zulfikar Khan. He introduced Ijra system, revenue farming. Ijra system is what? Ijra is, revenue farming. Revenue farming. What is that? Middlemen appointed. Revenue collectors are appointed. They will collect maximum from the farmers. Who is tortured here? Farmer is tortured here. Who is tortured here? Farmer is tortured here. So you see, Ijra system is introduced by Zulfikar Khan. Later, Jahandar Shah was killed by his nephew Farooq Seer. Farooq Seer comes to power. So 1713 to 1719, it is Farooq Seer. Bahadur Shah, Jahandar Shah, Farooq Seer. This Farooq Seer is important. It was during his time this farmer issued to British East India Company. Tax-free trading privilege issued to British East India Company. Okay, tax-free duty-free trading privilege issued to British East India Company, that is by this guy Farooq Seer. Okay, actually he came into power with the help of the kingmakers Said brothers. Two brothers are the Said brothers, they are the kingmakers, and they assisted to kill this Jahandar Shah and put this man into throne, that is, അതായത് ഇയാളെ തട്ടിയിട്ട് ഇയാളെ രാജാവാക്കാൻ സഹായിച്ചതാരാണ്, which is Said brothers. They are actually kingmakers. So later rulers were just puppet kind of rulers. They were puppet in the hands of nobles and these kingmakers. You got the point? Okay. See, Farooq Seer, this is Farooq Seer, he is actually assisted by the Said brothers to get into power, and real power were in the hands of the Said brothers. And Farooq Seer is significant because he issued a royal ferment to East India Company. Okay, duty-free trading rights in Bengal. That is royal ferment, that is 1717, issued to East India Company by Farooq Seer. After him, it is Muhammad Shah. 1719 to 1748 Muhammad Shah. He is known as Rangila. Most luxurious life ജീവിക്കാനുള്ള ലക്ഷ്യം മാത്രമേ അദ്ദേഹത്തിനുള്ളൂ. Okay, he enjoys a very luxurious life and he is very bad in administration. It was during his time the Persian invader Nadir Shah invaded India. Nadir Shah invaded India. That famous battle is called the Karnal battle, 1739 Karnal battle. Please try to understand Nadir Shah's invasion, 1739. Mughals are defeated and Delhi കയറിയിട്ട് എന്താ വെച്ചാൽ കംപ്ലീറ്റ് കുട്ടികളെയും പെണ്ണുങ്ങളെയും എല്ലാവരും വെട്ടിക്കൊന്നു. Okay, and he took away that peacock, what is that called, Kohinoor diamond and peacock throne of Shah Jahan. Okay, all the valuables took away by this Nadir Shah Persian invader. That battle was, Karnal battle, 1739, during time of Muhammad Shah. After him, you see, it is Ahmad Shah. What is his era? 1748 to 1754. Okay, കാരണം ഇവിടെ ഓരോരുത്തരുടെ ഈവൻ്റ് ഏത് സമയത്താണ് സംഭവിച്ചതെന്നുള്ള ധാരണ ഉണ്ടാവണം, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട ഈവൻ്റ് സംഭവിക്കുമ്പോൾ മുഗൾ റൂളർ ആരായിരുന്നു എന്നുള്ള ധാരണ ഉണ്ടാവണം. ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ, തേർഡ് പാനിപ്പത്ത് ബാറ്റിൽ 1761, പ്ലാഷി ബാറ്റിൽ 1757, ബക്സർ ബാറ്റിൽ 1764, ഓക്കെ, കർണൽ ബാറ്റിൽ 1739. ഇതൊക്കെ സംഭവിക്കുമ്പോൾ ഇവിടുത്തെ മുഗൾ റൂളേഴ്സ് ആരായിരുന്നു, ഇതിനെ ചുറ്റിപ്പറ്റി UPSC ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് ചോദിക്കാം. ഈ ക്രോണോളജി ടൈം ലൈൻ റിലേറ്റഡ് ഭയങ്കരമായിട്ട് കൺഫ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് ആണ്. സോ ഹാവ് ആൻ ഐഡിയ. Then comes Ahmad Shah, 1748 to 1754. Yes, it was his time. Ahmad Shah Abdali or Ahmad Shah Durrani, this Afghani invader, invaded India. Afghani invader multiple times invaded India. His first invasion, it was during time of Ahmad Shah. It was during time of, come on say, it was during time of Ahmad Shah. So Nadir Shah's invasion during whose time? Muhammad Shah. Okay, and his successor is, Afghani invader Ahmad Shah Abdali or Ahmad Shah Durrani. This Afghani invader started invading India from the time of this Ahmad Shah. Then comes Alamgir II. Alamgir is important. During his time, this Plassey battle is happened. Plassey battle is, come on say, his Plassey battle is happened. And this Alamgir, murdered by his prime minister, his wazir, Imadul Mulk. Then Shah Alam II, during his time, this third Panipat battle happened. You remember, third Panipat battle is between, yes, this is between Marathas and this, yes, Afghans, or this Ahmad Shah Abdali. Okay, Marathas versus Ahmad Shah Abdali, because Ahmad Shah Abdali's son is, yes, Timur Shah is ousted from this service. Marathas aggressed towards this Punjab and all. Okay, so when this Timur Shah is ousted from Punjab, Ahmad Shah Abdali returned, fought with the Marathas, defeated Marathas. Defeated Marathas. So this is very significant here. Yes, why this Panipat is significant? You see, Indian Mughals are already in the most declining stage, and Marathas are also defeated. That created a power vacuum, and that power vacuum provided opportunity for East India Company to rise as a territorial power. Symbol. You got my concept, na? So that the Panipat battle is significant because Ahmad Shah Abdali came, defeated Marathas and retained. Now the situation is Mughals are already in the declining stage. Marathas are also, defeated. That created a power vacuum for whom to rise? East India Company to rise. Got it? So it was during time of Shah Alam II. Then see, Buxar battle is also during time of Shah Alam II. Buxar battle. You see, 1764. 3 Indian powers are, defeated by British East India Company. Mughal, Yeah, Mughal and this Bengal and this Awadh, three Indian powers are defeated. Mir Qasim. Okay, Buxar, you see, actually it was between Nawab of Bengal and this British East India Company. Mir Qasim, he has introduced so many reforms, and see, there is this, what is called dastaks are misused by this British. Foreign trading privileges are misused by this British. Okay, so Mir Qasim abolished internal duties altogether. That created a friction between East India Company and this Mir Qasim. Then you understand that Mir Qasim in the Shah Alam second അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഷുജൗദ്ദൗല അവധിൻ്റെയും മുഗൾ എംപയറിൻ്റെ ഒക്കെ സഹായം തേടി ഒരു ട്രിപ്പിൾ അലയൻസ് ഫോം ചെയ്തു, ബ്രിട്ടീഷിനെതിരെ യുദ്ധം ചെയ്തു, അൺഫോർച്ചുനേറ്റ്ലി തോറ്റുപോയി. Okay, that was Buxar battle. After this Buxar, you must understand that Treaty of Allahabad is signed. What is signed here? Treaty of Allahabad. With the Treaty of Allahabad, see, Diwani rights, revenue rights of Bengal, Bihar, Odisha granted to British East India Company. The Diwani rights are, Diwani rights are handed over to British East India Company. A dual administration introduced there. All the revenue powers goes to this British without any responsibility. All the responsibility goes to that Bengal ruler without any authority. Concept മനസ്സിലായോ? British has full authority. They have full revenue control, Diwani power. Nizamat, responsibilities, law and order, that goes to Nawab. But he has no authority. He has no authority, he has no control over finance. All finance rights goes to company, all authority goes to company, only responsibility goes to this Nawab. That is dual administration. What is that called? The dual administration, a defective system. Okay. So Treaty of Allahabad 1765, with which British got the revenue rights of Bengal, Bihar, Odisha. Now see, after him Akbar II, no use, 1806 to 1837, is Raja title given to Rajaram Mohan Roy. And അദ്ദേഹത്തെ ഇംഗ്ലണ്ടിലേക്ക് വിറ്റു. എന്തിനു വിട്ടു? പെൻഷൻ ഒന്ന് റിക്വസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ഇംഗ്ലണ്ടിലേക്ക് വിട്ടു. ഓക്കെ, രാജാറാം മോഹൻ റോയ് അവിടെ വെച്ച് മരിച്ചു. നൗ സി, കാര്യമായിട്ട് വലിയ റോളൊന്നും അക്ബറിനില്ലായിരുന്നു. ഫൈനലി ബഹാദൂർ ഷാ സെക്കൻഡ്, സഫർ, ഉറുദു പോയട്രിയിൽ അഗ്രഗണ്യനായിരുന്നു ബഹാദൂർ ഷാ സെക്കൻഡ്. അദ്ദേഹമാണ് അവസാനത്തെ റൂളർ. 1857 റിവോൾട്ട് നടക്കുമ്പോൾ ഉള്ള മുഗൾ റൂളർ ആരായിരുന്നു എന്ന് ചോദിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഇറ്റ് വാസ് ബഹാദൂർ ഷാ സെക്കൻഡ്. അപ്പോൾ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഏറെക്കുറെ ഒരു ധാരണ കിട്ടിയോ? Later Mughals, can you say the order of the later Mughals? This was the scenario. This was the Mughal scenario when the British arrived here. Okay, see, who are the later rulers? Please try to say. Bahadur Shah is there, then comes Jalandhar Shah, then comes Farooq Siyar, then comes Muhammad Shah, then Ahmad Shah, then Shah Alam, then നമ്മൾ ഒരാളെ മിസ് ചെയ്തല്ലോ. അഹമ്മദ് ഷാ, then Alamgir second, then Shah Alam, then Akbar second, then Bahadur Shah second. അപ്പോൾ ഓർഡർ ഒന്നുകൂടി നോക്കുക. ദർ ഈസ് ബഹാദൂർ ഷാ ഫസ്റ്റ്. ബഹാദൂർ ഷാ, but he reversed Aurangzeb's policies. No use. Second person was Jalandhar Shah. During his time, his wazir or his kingmaker Zulfikar Khan introduced Ijra system. What is Ijra system? Revenue farming, appointing middlemen, revenue collectors, which caused so much burden upon the peasantry, on farmers. Okay, then comes after Jalandhar Shah Farooq Siyar. Farooq Siyar, came to power with the assistance of, with the help of Said brothers. Okay, two brothers. In fact, they controlled everything. Okay, it was during time of Farooq Siyar. Yes, this East India Company got to the royal firman. Okay, they go to the royal firman 1717. That is duty-free trading privilege. That was granted by this Farooq Siyar. Okay, after Farooq Siyar, then comes, who is next? Muhammad Shah. Okay, a long reign by Muhammad Shah. He is regarded as Rangila, most luxurious person. No, interest in administration. During his time, Nadir Shah, Persian invader, invaded India. That battle is called a Karnal battle. Okay, 1739, Delhi is sacked, and this Kohinoor diamond, peacock studded throne, etc., taken to Persia. Okay, after Muhammad Shah, who was next? Yes, it was Ahmad Shah. It was during his time, this Ahmad Shah Abdali, that is Afghani invader. After Nadir Shah is Persian invader. Then his successor, you see, Ahmad Shah Abdali, Afghani invader, started invading India. Multiple times he invaded India. His famous, plunder is 1761, you see, Panipat battle, a clash with the Marathas, you remember. So Ahmad Shah Abdali multiple times plundered India. Then see, after Ahmad Shah, you see Alamgir second. During his time, Plassey happened. 1757 Plassey battle, Sirajuddaula versus British East India Company. Okay. Then see, Shah Alam II during his time, third Panipat battle, 1761. That is Ahmad Shah Abdali, Afghani forces versus Maratha forces, in which Marathas terribly defeated, created a power vacuum. That power vacuum given an opportunity for East India Company to rise up. Got it? Yes, similar way, during Shah Alam II, Buxar battle happened, 1764. Triple alliances, Indian triple forces against British East India Company, in which Indian forces are defeated. And British got control over North India. Then you see, Treaty of Allahabad, British East India Company got Diwani rights, Diwani, fiscal rights, financial rights, revenue rights of Bengal, Bihar, Odisha, and all responsibilities goes to that Bengal Nawab. Nawab is without any authority, only with the responsibility, and this British is with the authority, no responsibility. Got the point? Okay, Treaty of Allahabad, creating dual administration in Bengal. Then next is Akbar, no use. Bahadur Shah II is the last ruler. During his time, 1857 revolt happened. And he is also called Zafar. He is an expert in Urdu poetry. Okay, that was the last Mughal ruler. By then, Mughal history ended here. So, you just manasilaku, ivarayirunnu last Mughals ennu parayunnathu. Ivarokke puppet kind of rulers aanu. So the situation was so, so favorable for East India Company to flourish here, or the European Company to flourish here. They are not that much powerful, and their weaponry is also, it is outdated. ഇവർക്കൊന്നും കാശില്ല, അതുകൊണ്ട് സോൾജേഴ്സിന് പ്രോപ്പറായിട്ട് പേയ്മെൻറ്റോ ഫുഡോ കാര്യങ്ങളൊന്നും കൊടുക്കുന്നില്ല. പിന്നെ യു സി റിയൽ പവർ ഈസ് എക്സസൈസ്ഡ് ബൈ നോബിൾസ് ആൻഡ് സം കൈൻഡ് ഓഫ് കിങ് മേക്കേഴ്സ്. അപ്പോൾ കംപ്ലീറ്റ് അപ്സൈഡ് ഡൗൺ ആണ്. ആ ഒരു സിറ്റുവേഷൻ ആര് മുതലാക്കി? ഈസ്റ്റ് ഇന്ത്യ കമ്പനി മുതലാക്കി. ആൻഡ് ഡ്യൂറിങ് ദിസ് ടൈം യു മസ്റ്റ് ഓൾസോ അണ്ടർസ്റ്റാൻഡ്, ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ നാദിർ ഷാ, അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെയൊക്കെ മുഹമ്മദ് ഷാൻ്റെയൊക്കെ സമയത്താണ് കുറേ ഇൻഡിപെൻഡൻറ്റ് സ്റ്റേറ്റ്സ് ഫോം ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ഹൈദരാബാദ് ബിക്കം ഇൻഡിപെൻഡൻറ്റ്, Bengal become independent, Awadh become independent. So many, states under the Mughal dominance, they become independent. So many regional kingdoms formed here. Because of the weakness of these Mughal rulers, because of the decline of the Mughal empire, see, many regional powers formed here. Who are the regional powers? Awadh state is there, Hyderabad state is there, again Maratha state is there, Jad is there, Sikh is there. So many states formed here. And the problem with these states, they always fought with each other. They always fought with if they, united together and fight against British could have, would have defeated. But ഇവരെന്താ ചെയ്തത്? ഇവർ അങ്ങോട്ടും ഇങ്ങോട്ടും തുപ്പി കളിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരുന്നു, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇവർ അങ്ങോട്ടും ഇങ്ങോട്ടും ഫൈറ്റ് ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ ബ്രിട്ടീഷിനെ സംബന്ധിച്ചിടത്തോളം ഇവിടെ വേരൊരുപ്പിക്കാൻ സഹായിച്ച രണ്ട് പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട ഘടകങ്ങൾ. പ്ലീസ് ട്രൈ ടു അണ്ടർസ്റ്റാൻഡ് ദ ലേറ്റർ മുഗൾ റൂളേഴ്സ്, their weak capabilities. They are weak rulers, they are puppet rulers. They couldn't handle these, geopolitics, or the administration, or the revenue, or nothing. You see, even the military was also weak during that time. It created, an opportunity for East India Company. Similar way, regional powers, whoever is risen, that is Maratha, Sikh, or these south states, whoever, Mysore states, whoever, all are, in clash with each other. These all situations, these conditions become favorable for East India Company to become, yes, from trading entity to territorial power. These situations provided them opportunity to rise from trading company to territorial power. You understood? You understood? Okay, fine, good. ഈ ഓരോരുത്തരുടെ സമയത്ത് പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട ഈവൻസ് ഇനി ചോദിച്ചാൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് പറയാൻ പറ്റില്ലേ? പറയാൻ പറ്റും. Now see, this is the way these Europeans arrived. 1498 Portuguese, then comes this Dutch, then comes this English, then comes this Danes or Danish, then comes this French. Okay, mnemonic you follow, PDEDF. PDEDF. P is for Portuguese, D is for Dutch, E is for English, D is for Danish, and F is for French. Okay, these are different European companies arrived, and see why they came here. Why they came here? Because they want to bypass Ottoman land route monopolies. By very fall of Constantinople, you please try to understand fall of Constantinople, and this Turkish power, captured Constantinople. Now you see that there is Turkish dominance over these land trade routes connecting Asia with Europe. So they have to bypass a sea route. Okay, they have to bypass these, land trade monopolies. They have to find direct sea routes connecting with Asia for getting these, access to spice trade. Spices are important. Okay, കോൺസ്റ്റാന്റിനോപ്പിൾ പിടിച്ചെടുത്തു, ഇനി ഓട്ടോമൻ മൊണോപ്പൊളി എസ്റ്റാബ്ലിഷ് ചെയ്തു, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അറബ് മെർച്ചൻസ് ഒക്കെ എന്താ വെച്ചാൽ ഈ ലാൻഡ് ട്രേഡ് റൂട്ട്സ് മൊണപ്പൊളൈസ് ചെയ്തു. നൗ ദേ വാണ്ടഡ് ടു ഹാവ് എ ഡയറക്റ്റ് ആക്സസ് ടു, കാരണം ഇപ്പോൾ സ്പൈസസ് ഭയങ്കര വിലയാണ്, അവർ പറയുന്ന വില കൊടുത്ത് വാങ്ങണം. സോ ദേ വാണ്ടഡ് ടു ബൈപ്പാസ് ദീസ് ലാൻഡ് ട്രേഡ് റൂട്ട്. ഓക്കെ, ദേ വാണ്ട് ടു ഫൈൻഡ് ദീസ് സീ ട്രേഡ് റൂട്ട്സ്. അങ്ങനെയാണ് പോർച്ചുഗീസും ഓരോരുത്തരും 1 by 1 ആയിട്ട് ഇന്ത്യയിലേക്ക് എത്തുന്നത്. യു സി ഡയറക്റ്റ് ട്രേഡ് ഓഫ് സ്പൈസസ്, യു നോ, ഫ്രം മലബാർ ഓർ സൗത്ത് ഈസ്റ്റ് ഏഷ്യ. Access to textile. India was once in the past, you know, the biggest exporter of this cotton and silk, material. You got the point. There is huge demand in European markets for Indian cotton and silk textiles here. Okay, high quality this cotton, silk textiles are high in demand in the European markets. So they wanted direct access to these textiles, indigo, saltpeter, etc. And they wanted to, like this Venetian Arab monopolies tagarkka എന്നൊരു intention. ഈ multiple reasons കൊണ്ടാണ് Europeans, why they came India, why these European companies came India. At least you can remember 3 points here. Why the Europeans arrived here? For getting a alternative sea route to spice trade, connecting Asia with Europe, directly Asia with Europe, Southeast Asia with Europe. Am I right? That is one thing. Second is, to break the monopoly of these Arab Venetian merchants. Am I right? Then again, see, to have direct access to this cotton or this silk, what is called textiles, or this wallpaper which is used for gunpowder or for this indigo, etc. സോ അവിടെ UPSC ചോദിച്ചിരുന്ന ഒരു ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ചോദിച്ചിരുന്നു, ഇവിടെ ഏഷ്യയിൽ നിന്ന് യൂറോപ്പിലേക്ക് ലൈക്ക് എക്സ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്തിരുന്ന അങ്ങോട്ടേക്ക് ഇമ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്തിരുന്ന കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റീസ് ഏതൊക്കെയായിരുന്നു എന്നുള്ളൊരു ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ഓക്കെ, വിൽ ആൻസർ ദാറ്റ്. നൗ യു സി, out of the Europeans, why British become successful? I said the reasons. You remember? One is that superior navy. They have a very superior navy. That is one reason. Okay, superior navy is one reason. Advanced military tactics and discipline, that is another reason. Stable home government is another reason. Okay, stable home government is another reason. Then see, the diplomacy and these very cunning governor generals, another reason. And you see, it is a state backed to private enterprises versus state controlled models. മറ്റുള്ള മോഡൽസിൻ്റെ പ്രത്യേകത എന്താണെന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ, യു ടേക്ക് ഡച്ച്, യു ടേക്ക് ഡാനിഷ്, യു ടേക്ക് ഫ്രഞ്ച്, they are state controlled enterprises. But British East India Company, I said it is a joint stock private trading concern full of autonomy. They have full of autonomy. It is a state backed to private enterprise. Many powerful shareholders, in the House of Commons, or many powerful shareholders, they are influential in the House of Commons in England. Okay, so you see, this is a trading concern. British East India Company is a trading concern that is highly supported by this, British home government. But other European companies, they are mostly controlled by these, home governments. They don't have independent decision making power. But this company has independent decision making power. Okay, and it is full financial support is there. In India, 3 strong bases they have. They have strong navy. They have very powerful governor generals. And see, they have, come on, say, they have, yeah, come on, you say, any 5 reasons why this British East India Company become successful in India? നിങ്ങൾ ബുദ്ധനെ പഠിക്കുകയാണോ അതോ മഹാവീരനെ പഠിക്കുകയാണോ, തപസ്സിലാണോ? Come on, say. You say. Kapuvala, Kiran Rao, come on, say. 5 reasons why this British East India Company becomes successful, others defeated. Yes, they are private joint stock trading concern, fully backed by this, home government, full support from home government. They have 3 strong bases in India. They have a very powerful navy, superior to others. Then, very efficient governor generals they have. Then, very, very equipped, very advanced or well-trained, disciplined this modern army. Okay, because of these reasons, you must understand that this British East India Company, they simply become a territorial power, from trading power to territorial power. Others got defeated one by one. Okay, now this is a story, and also this is important. You should know what are the establishments here, because UPSC already asked a question like that. Can you just look into this? Portuguese, just note down, my dear friends. Okay, Portuguese 1498, Dutch in 1605, English in 1608, then Danish in 1616, French in 1664. Then their first factory, Portuguese Cochin, Dutch Masulipatanam, English Surat, Danish, this is something near Tanjavur, and French it is in Surat. See their proper establishments in India. Portuguese, Calicut. Just look into this. What are their popular settlements here? Then Dutch you see Pulicat, Surat, Chinswara, Karaikal, Nagapattanam. Then English Madras, Bombay, Calcutta, Masulipatanam. Danish Nicobar Islands, Serampore. Then French Pondicherry. In fact, their headquarters were Pondicherry. It is a landlocked area, not that much fertile, not that much resourceful. Okay, but British, you see, they established their settlements across the coastal base. Yes, Mumbai is there, Madras is there, Kolkata is there. Very easy to transport weapons and soldiers from England. Okay, the coastal line, they established their settlements in the coastal line, and very easy to export the raw materials, very easy to import these finished products. Okay, so the strategic locations, one is the reason for their success. French had just this Pondicherry, a landlocked portion, Chandanagar, Mahi, Karaikal, Yanam, etc. So these are the major first factories and major establishments of these Europeans in India. Yes, this is asked in the prelims examination. Please note down. Now look into this. ഒരു ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ചോദിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. ആ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് വായിക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്നുണ്ടോ? Can you go for this, Nancy? With reference to Indian history, consider the following statements. Dutch established their factories on the east coast on lands granted to them by Gajapati rulers. And Alfonso de Albergo captured Goa from Bijapur. English East India Company established a factory at Madras on a plot of land leased. ഇതൊന്നും അറിയേണ്ട ആവശ്യമില്ല. ഈ UPSCൻ്റെ ഏറ്റവും വലിയൊരു സുഖം എന്താണെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ചിലപ്പോൾ ചില സ്റ്റേറ്റ്മെൻ്റ് ഒക്കെ അറിഞ്ഞാൽ മതി, നമുക്ക് ആൻസർ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. ഇവിടുത്തെ ഒരു സ്റ്റേറ്റ്മെൻറ്റ് അറിഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഈ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ആൻസറബിൾ ആണ്. just try to get into this. ഞാൻ ആദ്യം പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ I said Dutch in 1605. Okay, എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ Dutch established their factories on the east coast on lands granted to them by Gajapati rulers. Gajapati rulers ഇവർക്ക് മുമ്പേ വന്നു പോയി. Okay, they already got finished. They are in the beginning of the 17th century. They almost Gajapati is in the 15th, 16th centuries only. Okay, by 15th, 16th centuries they are over. അതിന് ശേഷമാണ് ആര് വരുന്നത്? ഡച്ച് വരുന്നത്. If you know the basic timeline, this question is answerable. Okay, you know that the first statement is wrong. Timelineൽ match ആവുന്നില്ല. So you eliminated the first statement. If you eliminated the first statement, സ്വാഭാവികമായിട്ടും you will eliminate this B, C and D. Am I right? Sorry. This A, A is eliminated, C is eliminated, D is eliminated. One ഉള്ളതെല്ലാം eliminate ചെയ്തു. So your answer will be 2 and 3 only. 2 and so understand the timeline. That part is very important for you. Now considering this transition of the company from a trading post to territorial power, see, this company is founded, that is in 1600. That ഓരോ ആ particular timeline important ആണ്. Please try to understand. East India Company by Royal Charter of Queen Elizabeth, yes, it was granted 15 years monopoly. അപ്പോൾ ഇവിടെ UPSCക്ക് വേണമെങ്കിൽ ചോദിക്കാം, they can simply shuffle. Instead of Elizabeth, they will put a thing like this, Victoria. By a royal charter by Queen Victoria, East India Company was given a 15 years monopoly in eastern trade. It is not by Victoria, it is by Elizabeth, Queen Elizabeth. Okay, not a Queen Tangam, it is Queen Elizabeth. So Queen Elizabeth, please try to understand, in 1600 granted a 15 years monopoly. 15 years monopoly for 15 years. Okay, that 15 years monopoly granted to East India Company. 15 years, 20 years, that extended later on. Anyway, monopoly is granted to East India Company. It is a monopolistic trading concern. Okay, Now 1613 is significant. Why that year is significant? അവിടുന്ന് ഇങ്ങോട്ട് പല തവണ അവർ മുഗൾസിനെ വന്ന് അപ്രോച്ച് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. Please grant me freedom to start a factory here. Rulers are, rejecting this. Okay, Hawking is Captain Hawking coming, Thomas Roy coming, different people coming to the court of Jahangir. Okay, or Aurangzeb, you see. So you see 1613 is important. Yeah, first factory granted by Jahangir. Okay, permission to start a factory at Surat. That is very important in the evolution of East India Company. Then see 1639. Yeah, Madras, Fort St. George they established on leased land. In Madras, they established their, fort which is St. George Fort. So Madrasilulla St. George Fortum, Kolkatailulladu, Bengalilullathu Fort William. Don't be confused. St. Georgeil British East India Company inde fort inde pere, sorry, Madrasil British East India Company inde fort inde pere St. George aanu. Bengalilullathu, Kolkatailulladu Fort William. മാറരുത്, അത് മാറ്റിയിട്ട് തരും. ഭയങ്കര സില്ലി സാധനങ്ങളാണ്, നമ്മൾ ശ്രദ്ധിക്കത്തില്ല. UPC അവിടെ നമുക്ക് ട്രാപ്പ് ഇട്ട് തരും. So don't be confused with that. Then you see 1690 Kolkata. Yes, Job Charnock establishes Fort William. ഇത് UPC ചോദിച്ച ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ആണ് കേട്ടോ. Okay, Fort William comes to Bengal. Then see 1717 they got this free trading privilege which is farman issued by Mughal ruler Farooq Sir. That farman is called Magna Carta of Company Trade. വളരെ സിഗ്നിഫിക്കൻ്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള കമ്പനിക്ക് കോടികളുടെ ലാഭം ഉണ്ടാക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്ന ഒരു ഫാർമനാണ് ആര് ഇഷ്യൂ ചെയ്തത്? ഫറൂഖ് സിയർ ഇഷ്യൂ ചെയ്തത് 1717. That farman is regarded as the Magna Carta of Company Trade. Okay, so these are some major events in the evolution of this company. Okay, just ശ്രദ്ധിക്കുക എന്തൊക്കെയാണ് എങ്ങനെയൊക്കെയാണെന്നുള്ളത് ശ്രദ്ധിക്കുക, important for you. Shall I move on? Shall I move on? No? Done? Please consider that each point can be a prelims question here. Each point can be a prelims question. So you please take care. ഓരോ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യനും ഓരോ 2 മാർക്ക്, ഓരോ പോയിന്റ് ഓരോ 2 മാർക്കറാണ്. Hello check, hello check. So this is clear now, this is clear to you. നിങ്ങൾ ഇത് ഇവിടെ തന്നെ പഠിച്ചു പോകുന്നുണ്ടല്ലോ അല്ലേ? ക്ലിയർ അല്ലേ? Okay, moving on to the next. See, just ഒരു പിക്ചർ കിട്ടുക, just ഒരു ഐഡിയ കിട്ടുക. They fought some major battles here because this is also favorite for UPSC. I already said Plassey battle, Buxar battle, then third Anglo-Maratha war, third Anglo-Maratha war, fourth Anglo-Mysore war, first Anglo-Sikh war, second Anglo-Sikh war. These wars we already, I think you are bored about the wars and all, so I am skipping this. Okay, so wars you just cover here. You just cover, when you cover the war, നിങ്ങളുടെ മൈൻഡ് ഇങ്ങനെയായിരിക്കണം. The causes of the wars. Causes are important. What are the causes of various wars? See, who are the people involved in this? People involved in this. People involved in this. For example, Anglo-Mysore wars. How many Anglo-Mysore wars are there? 4 Anglo-Mysore wars are there. You know, second Anglo-Mysore war, You know it is Warren Hastings. Am I right? There is Warren Hastings. Third Anglo-Mysore War. Who was the person? British Governor General. Eh? Amitabh Bachchan. Eh? Prakriti, what is your answer? Come on, third Anglo-Mysore War. Come on, my question is, it is Cornwallis or Wellesley? Eh? You said it. Yes, it is Cornwallis. Cornwallis is the Governor General in the third Anglo-Mysore War. And finally, it was Wellesley. Fourth Anglo-Mysore War, it was Wellesley. It was Wellesley. Okay. So just get an idea. Okay. It is in Anglo-Mysore Wars. It is in Anglo-Mysore Wars, Maratha Wars, or Sikh Wars, who are the Governor Generals involved in that. That is important. What are the treaties concluded each war? What is the reason for each war? Okay, those things are important. Don't skip it. Now, let's look into certain policies here. Just see, there is policy of ring fence. You heard about this? That is British East India Company, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ British India, like Indian territories conquer ചെയ്തത്, it is not just through these military wars. It is also through some diplomatic policies. It is also through some diplomatic policies, ideological policies. So diplomacy, that is policy of ring fence. Please try to understand, because UPC will definitely ask this kind of the terms here. What is policy of ring fence? Come on, the architect is Warren Hastings. Okay, who created this? It is Warren Hastings. Okay, what is policy of ring fence? Policy of ring fence? Eh? What is policy of ring fence? For example, I am British East India Company. Okay, and Kiran Bedi, you are my neighbor. Okay, you are my neighbor. I am telling you, and see, you have a danger. You have a danger from other enemies. Your other neighbor is your enemy. And I am telling you, Kiran, don't worry. I will support you. I will defend you. I will support and defend you. For example, take the case of Awadh. Take the case of Awadh. The British East India Company said, Awadh, don't worry, Awadh. I will support you. I will send my troops. Okay, they will be stationed in your territory. They will protect you from your enemy. Maratha is your enemy. They will protect you from your Maratha enemy. Okay, for which you give me annually some money. Then what is the advantage of this British? Maratha will not directly attack this British territory. They will only fight in the land of this Awadh. Who will be safe here? British will be safe here. So Awadh is, or Awadh is, that is a buffer zone. All fight will happen there only. Nothing happens to the territories of British. So policy of ring fence, by supplying these troops to these neighbor states, they are creating buffer zones in the neighborhood, protecting their own territory from these, very powerful enemies. So policy of ring fence, that is policy of ring fence. Hello? The fact, you understood the fact, policy of ring fence. Yes, the architect of this policy is Warren Hastings. The objective is to create buffer zones. Objective is to create what? Buffer zones. Okay. Yes, British defended neighboring states at the neighbors' expense to create a protective barrier around their own core territory. Avരുടെ സ്വന്തം പ്രോഡക്റ്റിനെ, സ്വന്തം ടെറിട്ടറിനെ പ്രൊട്ടക്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടി നൈബർ സ്റ്റേറ്റ്സ് എന്ത് ചെയ്യുന്നു? നൈബർ സ്റ്റേറ്റ്സിന് ആർമീനെ കൊടുത്ത് സപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നു അവരുടെ എനിമീസുമായിട്ട് ഫൈറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ. ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞ എക്സാമ്പിൾ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് മനസ്സിലായോ? ഇപ്പോൾ ബംഗാളിൻ്റെ കേസ് ആണെങ്കിൽ സിമ്പിളി ആലോചിച്ച് നോക്കൂ. ബംഗാളിനെ സംരക്ഷിക്കാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് എന്ത് ചെയ്യുന്നു? അവധിനെ സപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നു. അവധ് ഈസ് നൈബർ സ്റ്റേറ്റ്. അവധ് ഈസ് സപ്പോർട്ടഡ് വിത്ത് ആർമി ഓർ ഫുൾ ദീസ് ലൈക്ക് ബ്രിട്ടീഷിൻ്റെ ആർമി എക്യുപ്മെൻറ്റ്സ് എല്ലാം കൊടുക്കുന്നു, സോൾജേഴ്സിനെ കൊടുക്കുന്നു. സോ ദീസ് അവധിന് എന്ത് ചെയ്യാം? അവരുടെ ശത്രുക്കളുമായിട്ട് ഫൈറ്റ് ചെയ്യാം. So all the fight will happen in the territory of Awadh only. Nothing happens in the territory of British Empire. Okay. So British actually protecting on empire, on territory by supplying these armies to these neighbor states. Okay. Creating buffer zones in the neighborhood. So policy of ring fence. Next is subsidiary alliance. You understood. Architect is Lord Wellesley. What is subsidiary alliance? What is subsidiary alliance? Think about it. What is subsidiary alliance? Yeah, you see, suppose an Indian state signing this particular subsidiary alliance means, please try to understand that they accept this British as their protector. British acts as their protector or paramount power. Okay, they accept the paramountcy of British. Then what they do? അവരുടെ സ്വന്തം സോൾജേഴ്സിനെ അവരെന്ത് ചെയ്യുന്നു? ഡിസ്മിസ് ചെയ്യുന്നു. ബ്രിട്ടീഷ് ആർമീനെ സ്വീകരിക്കുന്നു. നൗ ഓൺവേർഡ്സ് ബ്രിട്ടീഷ് ആർമി ഈസ് സ്റ്റേഷൻഡ് ഇൻ ദ ടെറിട്ടറി ഫോർ ദ പ്രൊട്ടക്ഷൻ. അതിന് പകരമായിട്ട് വർഷം എന്ത് കൊടുക്കണം? They have to pay tribute to British. They have to pay tribute to British. And this particular Indian state, shouldn't they have independent relations with the other foreign powers, all with the consent of British. Okay, any association with the other states or waging wars or any diplomatic relations with the other states or foreigners, everything with the consent of British only. Okay, if they are not able to pay the tribute, annual tribute, their territory would be seized or portions of the territory would be seized. Such an alliance is, subsidiary alliance. In the name of protection of the Indian state, British is supplying their troops and getting territorial gains. Am I right? ഇപ്പോൾ ഒരു ഇന്ത്യൻ സ്റ്റേറ്റ് ബ്രിട്ടീഷുമായിട്ട് സബ്സിഡി അലയൻസ് സൈൻ ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ അവരോട് പറയുന്നു നിങ്ങളുടെ പ്രൊട്ടക്ഷന് ബ്രിട്ടീഷ് ആർമീനെ തരാം, പക്ഷെ നിങ്ങളുടെ സ്വന്തം ആർമീനെ പിരിച്ചുവിടണം. ഇനി ബ്രിട്ടീഷ് ആർമീനെ തന്നാലുള്ള പ്രശ്നം എന്താണ്? എനി ടൈം ബ്രിട്ടീഷിന് ആവശ്യമുള്ളപ്പോൾ അതിനെ തിരിച്ചു വിളിക്കും. ഈ ബ്രിട്ടീഷ് ആർമീനെ തരുന്നതിന് പകരമായിട്ട് നിങ്ങൾ എന്ത് ചെയ്യണം? വർഷം കപ്പം തരണം. അതിൽ മുടക്കം വന്നാൽ നിങ്ങളുടെ ടെറിട്ടറി നമ്മൾ പിടിച്ചെടുക്കും. ഓക്കെ, നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇൻഡിവിജ്വലായിട്ട് ഒരു റിലേഷൻസും ഇല്ല, നിങ്ങൾക്ക് മറ്റുള്ള യൂറോപ്യൻ പവേഴ്സുമായിട്ട് ഡയറക്റ്റ്ലി ഒരു കോൺടാക്ട്സും ഇല്ല. എല്ലാ കമ്മ്യൂണിക്കേഷനും എല്ലാ കാര്യങ്ങളും ബ്രിട്ടീഷിൻ്റെ അനുവാദത്തോടു കൂടി മാത്രം. അപ്പോൾ സത്യം പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഇവിടെ ആര് പാരലൈസ്ഡ് ആവുകയാണ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്? Indian states, getting paralyzed or they are totally getting subordinated to this British power. Okay, that is also, a policy applied by these Wellesley laws of sovereignty. Indian states in the sovereignty nashtamavunu, British in the paramountcy accept cheyanam. Indian rulers disbanded their armies, paid to host British troops, surrendered their foreign policy to British and a British resident at their, court. അപ്പോൾ ഇത്രയും പ്രൊവിഷൻസ് ഉള്ള ക്ലോസസ് ഉള്ള ഒരു സംഭവമാണ് എന്തെന്ന് പറയുന്നത്? സബ്സിഡറി അലയൻസ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. വാട്ട് ഈസ് ദാറ്റ് കോൾഡ്? Subsidiary alliance. Under subsidiary alliance, if any state, you remember who is the first state to sign subsidiary alliance with the British? Who was the first state to sign the subsidiary alliance with the British? Come on, anyone, state in the comment box, or you just say. Hyderabad. Hyderabad was the first state to sign subsidiary alliance. If a state signs subsidiary alliance, they have to accept the paramountcy of British. Okay, they have to accept the sovereignty of British. On sovereignty is lost. On independency is lost. On army they have to dismiss. So many soldiers become jobless. They accept British troops in their territory and pay a tribute, annual tribute for that to British every year. If they fail, their territory will be seized, annexed. And their foreign policies are surrendered to British. Okay, their foreign policies are surrendered to British. Again, a British resident at their court. Okay, so it is directly or indirectly they are getting surrendered to this British power. Okay, subsidiary alliance. Then you see subordinate isolation. This subordinate isolation is with the peasant or industrialist or with these princely states. Come on, say. Subordinate isolation is a policy devised against, or it is with whom? It's a policy by British East India Company with whom? Princely states. What is the policy behind this? Yes, this is by Lord Hastings. See, diplomatic solitary confinement. British became paramount power. Princely states completely isolated. They could not form alliances, communicate or fight with the other states without British mediation. It is only through British. Okay, എല്ലാവരെയും ഐസൊലേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുകയാണ്. ഓക്കെ, ഇന്ത്യൻ പ്രിൻസിലി സ്റ്റേറ്റ്സിനെ ഐസൊലേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുക. അത് ആർക്ക് ആവശ്യമാണ്? ബ്രിട്ടീഷിന് ആവശ്യമാണ്. There should be no union among these, Indian princely states. There should be no communication between Indian princely states. Everything is through the mediation of British. That is subordinate isolation. Look into that. Subordinate isolation. Subordinate isolation, this is by Lord Hastings. Okay, and see, This is British became paramount power. Princely states completely isolated. They could not form alliances. They could not form alliances, and they could not communicate. They could not fight with each other without British mediation. Whoever comes under this subordinate isolation, they have to follow this. It's something policy devised against these princely states of India. Now see, doctrine of lapse. You know what is doctrine of lapse? ആരാണ് ഇത് കൊണ്ടുവന്നത്? ഡൽഹൌസിയാണ്. എന്തായിരുന്നു ഇതിൻ്റെ ഇൻറ്റൻഷൻ? എന്തായിരുന്നു ഇതിൻ്റെ ഇൻറ്റൻഷൻ? എനിക്ക് നിങ്ങൾ കുട്ടികളോടുള്ള ഒരു റിക്വസ്റ്റ് എന്താണെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ, നിങ്ങളുടെ മൈൻഡിലെ ആ ഒരു ബ്ലോക്ക് എടുത്ത് മാറ്റാനായിട്ട് ശ്രമിക്കുക. അതായത് ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് ക്ലാസ് ആണെങ്കിൽ ഞാൻ ഒരു തരത്തിൽ എൻ്റെ ഡോറ് തുറന്നു കൊടുക്കത്തില്ല. അത് മൈൻഡിൻ്റെ ഡോറ് തുറന്നു കൊടുക്കത്തില്ല. പുല്ല് ആ വഴിക്ക് പോട്ടെ, നിങ്ങൾ തേക്കുമൂട് ഒതുങ്ങി കൊടുത്തേ ഉള്ളൂ. ഇതൊരു പാൻ ഇന്ത്യ കോമ്പറ്റീഷൻ അല്ലേ? നമ്മൾ ഇംഗ്ലീഷിലല്ലേ എക്സാം എഴുതുന്നത്? പ്രിലിംസിൻ്റെ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസും ഇംഗ്ലീഷിലല്ലേ? അപ്പോൾ ആ ഡോറൊക്കെ അങ്ങ് തുറന്നിട്. ഡോണ്ട് ബി ഓഫ് ദ മൈൻഡ് സെറ്റ് ദാറ്റ് ഇംഗ്ലീഷിൽ ക്ലാസ് എടുക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ ഞാൻ എല്ലാം അടച്ചു പൂട്ടി ആണി അടിച്ചു നോക്കും, ഒന്നിനെ ഉള്ളിലേക്ക് കയറ്റി വിടില്ല, എല്ലാം പുറത്തോടെ പോയിക്കോട്ടെ. മലയാളത്തിലാണെങ്കിൽ ഞാൻ സൂപ്പർ ഹാപ്പി, ആനന്ദ താണ്ഡവാടും ഞാൻ. ഒരു കാര്യമില്ല, ഈ വേർഡിംഗ് ഒക്കെ ഇതുപോലെയായിരിക്കും ക്വസ്റ്റ്യനിൽ വരിക. നിങ്ങൾ അതിൻ്റെ മലയാളം ട്രാൻസ്ലേഷൻ നോക്കിയിരുന്നാൽ അവിടെ ഇരിക്കത്തേ ഉള്ളൂ. അപ്പോൾ മെൻ്റൽ ബ്ലോക്കേഡ് മാറ്റൂ പ്ലീസ്, മൈ റിക്വസ്റ്റ്. ഇനി നിങ്ങൾക്ക് വേണ്ടി പ്രത്യേകം മലയാളത്തിൽ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ പേപ്പർ തരുന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഞാനൊന്നും പറയത്തില്ല. പക്ഷേ ആസ് ഓഫ് നൗ എൻ്റെ അറിവിൽ ഇതുവരെ അങ്ങനെ മലയാളത്തിലൊരു പേപ്പർ തന്നിട്ടില്ല. പ്രിലിംസ് ഇംഗ്ലീഷിലും ഹിന്ദിയിലും ഉണ്ടാവും, ഹിന്ദിയിലും ഉണ്ടാവും. അപ്പോൾ ആ ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് വേർഡൊക്കെ ആയിട്ട് നിങ്ങൾ കുറച്ച് നല്ല ബന്ധം സ്ഥാപിക്കൂ, ആത്മാർത്ഥമായിട്ടൊരു ബന്ധം സ്ഥാപിക്കൂ ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് വേർഡിങ്ങും ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് ലാംഗ്വേജൊക്കെ ആയിട്ട്. കാരണം നിങ്ങൾ എഴുതുന്നതും ഇംഗ്ലീഷിലല്ലേ, മെയിൻസ് എഴുതുന്നതും ഇംഗ്ലീഷിലല്ലേ? ആണോ? ആണ്. അപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് ക്ലാസ്സിൽ കേട്ട് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ മനഃപൂർവ്വം ഞാനത് മനസ്സിലാക്കത്തില്ല, ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് ക്ലാസ്സിനോട് എനിക്ക് താല്പര്യമില്ല എന്ന മൈൻഡ് സെറ്റ് ആണെങ്കിൽ ഗെയിമിൽ നമ്മൾ കുറേ ബാക്കിലായിരിക്കും. അപ്പോൾ നിങ്ങൾ പറയും, സാർ അത് മലയാളത്തിൽ മനസ്സിലാക്കാനല്ലേ, ലാംഗ്വേജ് ഒരു ഇതല്ലല്ലോ എന്നൊക്കെ പറയും. പക്ഷെ ഇത് കോമ്പറ്റീഷൻ അല്ലേ? നിങ്ങൾ 10 വർഷം എടുത്ത് PhD ഒരു തീസിസ് സബ്മിറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പോകല്ലോ. ഒരു കോമ്പറ്റീഷനാണ്, ചെറിയ സമയമുള്ളൂ. കോമ്പറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് പാൻ ഇന്ത്യ ലെവലാണ്. അപ്പോൾ കുറച്ച് ലാംഗ്വേജും കൂടി ഇമ്പ്രൂവൈസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് നല്ലതാണ്. ടക്കേന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് മൈൻഡിൽ പെട്ടെന്ന് നമുക്ക് ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് വേർഡൊക്കെ വരണ്ടേ എഴുതുമ്പോൾ, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ കാണുമ്പോൾ അത് മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ പറ്റണ്ടേ? അപ്പോൾ അതിനെ നിങ്ങൾ പ്രണയിക്കൂ, അതിൽ നിങ്ങൾ പഠിക്കാൻ ശ്രമിക്കൂ. എനിക്ക് മനസ്സിലാവും, പലരുടെയും മുഖം കാണുമ്പോൾ മനസ്സിലാവും. ത്രൂ ഔട്ട് ഇംഗ്ലീഷിൽ പോകുമ്പോൾ എന്തോ ഒരു ആർക്കാനും വേണ്ടി, എന്താ പറയുന്നത്, ആർക്കോ വേണ്ടി തിളയ്ക്കുന്ന സാമ്പാർ എന്നുള്ളൊരു മൈൻഡ് സെറ്റ്, ഫേഷ്യൽ എക്സ്പ്രഷൻ കാണുമ്പോൾ എനിക്കും തോന്നും, വൈ ദേ ആർ സിറ്റിംഗ് ഹിയർ. ലാംഗ്വേജ് ആർക്കെങ്കിലും പ്രശ്നമുണ്ടോ? Please try to be in harmony with the language, all of you. Okay? പിന്നെ നിങ്ങൾ എൻഗേജ്ഡ് ആവാൻ ശ്രമിക്കുക. എൻഗേജ്ഡ് ആവുക എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് എന്താണ്? ഇത് നിങ്ങൾ മഹാഭാരതം കേട്ടോണ്ടിരിക്കേണ്ട. ഐ വുഡ് സേ വെൻ ഐ ടീച്ച് യു, യു ജസ്റ്റ് റൈസ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് യാർ. എനിക്ക് നിങ്ങളുടെ സൈഡിൽ നിന്നൊന്നും കിട്ടാത്തത് കൊണ്ടാണ് ഞാൻ രാജധാനി പിടിക്കുന്നത്, അല്ലേ വന്ദേ ഭാരത് പിടിക്കുന്നത്. നിങ്ങളുടെ സൈഡിൽ നിന്ന് വരുവാണെന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ എനിക്ക് വീണ്ടും ബ്രേക്ക് ഡൗൺ ചെയ്യാം. ടേക്ക് ഇറ്റ് പോസിറ്റീവ്ലി. ഓക്കെ കിരൺ ബേദി? ഓക്കെ ഫൈൻ. Now coming to doctrine of lapse. Doctrine of lapse is by Dalhousie. What was the purpose of that? Yes, this is annexation by loophole. If a ruler of a dependent state died without biological male heir, a dependent state ruler is not having a biological heir, or he is having an adopted son, that adopted son will not have the right to become the next ruler. Automatically that state is lapse added to British. Okay, so you see, if a ruler of a dependent state died without a biological male heir, the kingdom reverted, it is lapse to British. It invalidated traditional right of an adopted son to inherit the throne. Satra Jhansi ke annexed in the same way by Dalhousie. Okay, originally, traditionally, adopted son has the right to become the next ruler. But the British, Dalhousie introducing doctrine of lapse said that, yes, a ruler of the dependent state, if not having a biological heir, a natural heir, yes, his adopted son will not have the right to inherit the throne. that state will be automatically lapsed and added to British. That is doctrine of lapse. So just understand, on grounds of doctrine of lapse, on grounds of subsidiary alliance, what are the states annexed by British. Then see, subordinate union. After 1857 revolt, British reversed their policy, or they changed subordinate isolation to subordinate union. Relations with the princely states. See, core concept is prince as the loyal puppet. British abandoned annexations, recognized adoption rights. Yes, in return, more than 500 surviving princely states, they extended their loyalty to the crown. Okay. So princely statesനെ വെറുപ്പിക്കരുത് എന്ന് 1857 റിവോൾട്ടിലൂടെ അവർക്ക് മനസ്സിലായി. സോ പ്രിൻസ്ലി സ്റ്റേറ്റ്സുമായിട്ട് എന്ത് ചെയ്യുക, നല്ല ബന്ധം സ്ഥാപിക്കുക. അനക്സേഷൻസ് ഇല്ല, അവരുടെ ടൈറ്റിൽസ് ഒക്കെ തിരിച്ചു കൊടുക്കുക, അഡോപ്ഷൻ റൈറ്റ്സ് ഒക്കെ തിരിച്ചു കൊടുക്കുക, അവരുമായിട്ട് ഒരു യൂണിയൻ ഫോം ചെയ്യുക, പ്രിൻസ്ലി സ്റ്റേറ്റ്സിനെ കൂടെ ചേർത്ത് പിടിക്കുക. ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇതുപോലെ വരുന്ന റിവോൾട്ട് തടുക്കാൻ പറ്റാണ്ടാവും. ഓക്കെ, അങ്ങനെ ദേ റിവേഴ്സ്ഡ് ദ പോളിസി ബൈ 1858 ആക്ട്, സബോർഡിനേറ്റ് ഐസൊലേഷൻ ടു സബോർഡിനേറ്റ് യൂണിയൻ. യു ഗോട്ട് ദ പോയിന്റ്? Okay, these are some very fundamental ideological policies, adopted by this British to have territorial annexations or to expand their territorial boundaries. You got the point? So different policies are there. അതെന്തൊക്കെയാണെന്നുള്ളത് പ്രത്യേകം ശ്രദ്ധിക്കുക. I hope you understood policy of ring fence, policy of subsidiary alliance, policy of subordinate isolation, policy of this doctrine of lapse, policy of subordinate union. Is it understood? Is it clear? Shall we move on? Are you okay? Okay, fine. Can you just get into this question? With reference to this colonial rule in India, home charges formed an important part of drain of wealth from India. Which of the following funds constituted home charges? Can you make some answer? Into this. Yes, what I said is online students in kittunnundu manasilavunu. Okay, vishwasikkunnu. So home charges is something which is related to home expenses for meeting Indian administrative expenses over here. They are maintaining an office in London, and the officer's salary, pension, incentives, everything comes under home charges. Okay, Indian remittances to this, England, that is in form of salary, pension, whatever the things. Okay, so you see, fund used to support this Indian office in London for meeting Indian administrative expenses, that is home charges. Angane chindichu kanyal, you just see this third one is just contradictory here. What is that? Fund used for waging wars outside India by the British. For that they have another fund here, military fund is there. That is not home charges, that is outside. Okay, fighting Afghanistan or maybe Pakistan, Nepal, Burma, etc. No, that time no Pakistan. So you see that that is something outside, or this fund is something for military expenses, that is not part of home charges. But the fund used to pay salary and pension of British personnel. Where, for example, the Indian officers, they go to Britain, their pension comes under these home charges. Or these Indian officers, British Indian officers, who take a long leave, go to Britain, their salary also comes under home charges. You got the point, na? So home charges, it is all expenses related to Indian administration that is paid in this London. Or in London they are maintaining an office, and that is for the administrative supervision of Indian affairs here, or Indian resources here, for which they are paying the salary, pension, incentives, etc. all come together, these home charges. Okay, so let us go for this. Yes, these expenses they meet for Indian administration in London, paying salary, pension, or incentives to officers, that is something home charges. Okay, so be very clear with that. Now, yes, during this colonial rule 1757 to 1857, yes, one of the very significant part is constitutional remedies, constitutional developments from Regulating Act 1773 to Government of India Act 1858. After that we will see council reforms and 1935 Act, etc. But during this company rule, Regulating Act 1773 too, this Government of India Act 1858 is very important for you. So many questions they asked here. Okay, so many questions they asked from various acts. Charter Acts are there, Council Acts are there, Government of India Act 1919, Government of India Act 1935. They asked so many questions. So here you see Regulating Act is there. Okay, Regulating Act is there. Why this is important here? For the first time, for the first time you understand that yes, this what is called yes, British parliamentary intervention into Indian administration. British parliamentary intervention into Indian administration through the company. അതുവരെ കമ്പനിക്ക് അഴിഞ്ഞാടാനുള്ള സ്വാതന്ത്ര്യം ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. For the first time, British Parliament initiated a supervision into Indian administration through the company. Okay, because company itself is known for corruptions and malpractices. So first time British Crown, British Parliament's intervention into Indian administration through the company, that is Regulating Act. Under this act, there is a provision for establishment of Supreme Court. சொல்லுங்க, எதுக்கு നിങ്ങൾ വടി വിഴുങ്ങിയ മാതിരി ഇരിക്കുന്നത്? Say, is it Regulating Act 1773 under which there was a provision for this establishment of Supreme Court at Calcutta or Delhi or this Plymouth? Supreme Court at Calcutta. Am I right? There is a provision for establishment of Supreme Court at Calcutta. Am I right? And a post is created. What was that post here? Governor General of Bengal. This act created Governor General of Bengal. And who was that first Governor General of Bengal? Warren Hastings was the first Governor General of Bengal, and he was assisted by a 4-member executive council. A four-member executive council, and all bills are passed based on majority voting, and here Governor General has no veto power. Any bill is passed based on majority voting. Regulating Act 1773, that is to regulate these companies' activities and corruptions, malpractices, etc. British parliamentary intervention. First British parliamentary intervention in the form of Regulating Act, under which a post created Governor General of Bengal. Madras and this what is called the Bombay presidencies, subordinated to Kolkata presidency. Madras and Bombay presidency subordinated to Bengal, Kolkata presidency, and Governor General of Bengal post is created, and Warren Hastings is the first Governor General of Bengal. He was assisted by a executive council of 4 members, and any bill is passed, decision is passed based on majority voting. Governor General has no veto power. Also, there is a provision for establishment of Supreme Court not at Delhi, it is in Kolkata. Got the point? Now see, after which there is, to amend this Regulating Act 1773, there is Pitt's India Act 1784, an amendment Act 1784 to address the loopholes of the Regulating Act. Under this act, dual administration is introduced. What is introduced here? Dual administration, that is Board of Control, Court of Directors. Board of Control and Court of Directors. See, Board of Control. This Board of Control, it's actually the representative of the British Parliament. Board of Control, it is actually the representatives of British Parliament. They will take care of the political affair of the company in India. India's political affairs, that will take care by this Board of Control. Commercial affairs, that is by Court of Directors. Okay? So Board of Control, they will take care of the political activities. Court of Directors, they will take care of the commercial activities. Board of Control will take care of the political affairs, territorial political affairs by this Board of Control. Court of Directors, come on, say. Court of Directors, commercial affairs. So dual system is introduced here. Okay, dual system is introduced here. And 4-member reduced to 3-member? 4 members in the Executive Council is reduced to 3 members. Governor General plus 3 members. Also, Governor General is given veto power. Am I right? So, Pitt's India Act, dual system introduced, Board of Control, Court of Directors. Board of Control for, they are representatives from British Parliament. So, Board of Control for, managing this political affair of India, and Court of Directors for managing commercial affairs of India. Okay? And this Governor General's Executive Council reduced to 3 members, Governor General plus 3 members, and this Governor General was given that veto power. Is it clear? Is it clear? Fundamental thing. Then you see, 1813 Charter Act is there. Why this act is significant here? For the first time, you must understand that, yes, this monopoly is ended. Company's monopoly completely ended. Yes, tea trade. Over tea trade or this trade with China, you see, over that the company can enjoy monopoly. Other than that, company's monopoly is ended. Company's monopoly is, still they have monopoly over what? Over tea trade and trade with China, over which they have monopoly. Other than this, their monopoly is ended. That means by this act, you must understand free trade is introduced here. What is introduced here? Yeah, free trade is introduced here. Free trade is introduced. All these merchants and these commercial companies from Europe, they can conduct a free trade here. Just a 2% duty. Indian merchants have 80% duty tax. Okay, so they introduced a kind of a one-way free trade. So 1813 Act is important because it introduced free trade. Also, it provided 1 lakh rupees for what? Mukipadi Waganano. 1 lakh rupees for this promotion of Indian science and education. Just 1 lakh for entire India. Now 1 lakh is not sufficient for a single child's LKG admission. Okay, so 1 lakh for the promotion of education for all over this India, for all Indians. Also, this allowed Christian missionaries to come India and propagate Christianity. All is part of 1813 Act. Now 1833 Act is important. This is known for centralization. Okay, centralization, total subordination of legislative powers of this, these Bombay and Madras presidencies to Kolkata. Now Kolkata Council will act these laws for the entire India. Total centralization. A post is created which is called Governor General of India. Governor General of India. A post is created, Governor General of India. Who was the first Governor General of India? William Bentinck was the first Governor General of India. First Governor General of India. Okay. He also annexed some states on grounds of misrule. Just like Dalhousie annexed Awadh on grounds of misrule, misgovernment. Am I right? And also he is a man known for so many social changes here. Sati Abolition Act is there. So many things passed by this William Bentinck. Anyway, he was the first Governor General of India. Centralization is completed here. 1833 Act, you please try to understand. We will go for other provisions of the Act. Then 1853 is important. Legislative councils are separated. Civil service open competitive exam is announced. Then finally, there is 1858 Act. Why this Act is significant? Why this Act is significant? Yes, after revolt there is power transfer. Yes, there is power transfer from company to crown. Company to crown, there is power transfer. ഇപ്പോൾ ഫണ്ടമെൻ്റൽ ആയിട്ടുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങൾ നിങ്ങൾ മനസ്സിലാക്കിയെന്ന് ഞാൻ വിശ്വസിക്കുന്നു. ഇനി കുറച്ച് ഡീറ്റെയിൽ ആയിട്ട് നമുക്ക് പോവാം. ഓക്കെ, കുറച്ച് ഡീറ്റെയിൽ ആയിട്ട് നമുക്ക് പോവാം. Are you tired? I won't take much time today. By 12:30 I will wind up. ഇത് റീഡബിൾ ആണോ? ഇത് റീഡബിൾ ആണോ നിങ്ങൾക്ക്? റീഡബിൾ ആണോ? അല്ല. Can you see the word regulating act? Can you see this? Okay, I will explain Regulating Act. Just look into that. Year is 1773. Main features are Governor General of Bengal post is created. Warren Hastings, first Governor General of Bengal. Executive Council of 4 members to assist him. A Supreme Court at Calcutta. Banned company servants from private trade and this accepting bribes and such things. See, passed by Lord North, Warren Hastings, first Governor General of Bengal. It is the foundation of centralization of administration. That's it. Regulating Act, sorry, Pitt's India Act, next one, 1784. See, dual government is introduced. What was that? Board of Control, Court of Directors. Board of Control, you know, representatives of the British Parliament, they will take care of the political affairs of India. Then Court of Directors, they will take care of the commercial affairs of India. Okay. Then see, Charter Act 1813. See, companies' trade monopoly is abolished except this tea trade and trade with China. They still have the monopoly in tea trade and trade with China. Other than that, their monopoly is ended. That means free trade is opened. Then see, absolute sovereignty of British Crown over these Indian territories. Through this act, yes, British Crown, yes, asserted absolute sovereignty over Indian territories. It allocated 1 lakh annually for revival of literature and science of India. It allowed permitted Christian missionaries to travel India, propagate Christianity. This much is clear. This much is clear. 1 lakh rupees for the education of this India. See, that time Lord Mindo. Okay, it is drafting during his time, implementation during Hastings. Okay. Now see, there is Charter Act. What is that? Charter Act 1833. Why this is significant? Centralization is completed. Okay, this Bombay presidency, Madras presidency totally subordinated to Kolkata presidency. That become the center of Indian administration, and a head of Indian administration post is created, which is Governor General of India. Governor General of Bengal become Governor General of India, and first Governor General of India it was William Bendick. Okay, then you see Madras and Bombay presidencies lost their legislative powers, and you see first time a law member is added to this Governor General's Council, and first law member was Lord Macaulay. First law member was Lord Macaulay. He is the man who is behind that drafting of Indian Penal Code. Indian Penal Code. Codifying these Indian laws, studying and codifying laws, and finally Indian Penal Code. So this man is, you know, he was the chairman of this, you know, this Public Instruction Committee. And also he was the first law member to this Governor General's Council. Okay, and he is the man who proposed that Minotone education. That he proposed English education is needed for Indians. There was a controversy, which mode of education should be followed. Anglicist controversy, Orientalist. Orientalist said that, yes, that has to be this traditional Indian knowledge of science must be in Indian language. Anglicist to say that that should be Western science in Western language, English. And this Macaulay was appointed as the chairman of the Public Instruction Committee. He submitted a report and he favored this, you know, Anglicist view. He said that English education is compulsory. A single shelf in European library, in London library, they can totally replace this Indian and this, you know, Arabic or Persian literature. That is the way he proposed, and William Bendick implemented this English education here. Got it? Okay, so he is the first law member. He is the chairman of this Public Instruction Committee. Okay, also, yes, IPC, you know, this man is behind this, you know, IPC formation. So all those things you take care. Now next is you see Charter Act 1853. Why Charter Act 1853 is important? It is separated executive legislative functions of Governor General's Council, created a separate 6-member Indian Legislative Council, then see introduced to open competitive exams for Indian civil services. In theory, not in practice. Okay, in theory it introduced an open competitive exam for Indian civil services. Okay, those things you please take care. Okay, those things you please take care. By that, Lord Dalhousie became the Governor General. Lord Macaulay chaired the Committee on Civil Services, and it saw the seeds of parliamentarianism. You see, separation of executive and legislative functions, creation of separate 6-member Indian Legislative Council, the introduction of open competitive exams, etc. That is in theory, not in practice. Then coming to Government of India Act 1858. See, Government of India Act 1858. Next important act, Government of India Act 1858. What are the features of this Government of India Act 1858? Abolition of East India Company and transfer of all powers to this crown. Am I right? Till then company, managed this Indian administration. Now company is scrapped here. No more company. Now power shifted to crown. Then see, Office of Secretary of State is created. He is the direct representative of the crown. In England, there is an office created, Secretary of State. He is assisted by an Indian Council of 15 member, Advisory Council. Okay, they will look after, or he will be the head of this Indian administration in England, or he is the representative of the crown. Then see, Governor General title shifted to Viceroy of India. In India, the administrative head is Viceroy. He is answerable to Secretary of State. Secretary of State is answerable to British Crown. Okay, that hierarchy you just understand. So through this Queen Victoria's proclamation, you see that this act is passed, and see their annexation policies are terminated, and they said they will maintain friendly policies with these princely states. Their titles and honors will be given back. Look into that. First Secretary of State, Stanley. Yes, last Governor General, first Viceroy, Lord Canning. Okay. So these are some very popular constitutional reforms from Regulating Act 1773 to Government of India Act 1858, which you have to follow. Are you tired? Which material you got? Okay. Can you answer this? Can you answer this? By which one of the following acts was the Governor General of Bengal designated as the Governor General of India? By which one of the following acts was the Governor General of Bengal designated as the Governor General of India? Charter Act 18. Come on, say. Charter Act 1833. Charter Act 1833. Now, Charter Act 1813. It ended the trade monopoly of East India Company in India except trade in tea and trade with China. It asserted sovereignty of British Crown over the Indian territories held by the company. The revenues of India were now controlled by British Parliament. The revenues of India now controlled by British Parliament. That happened only after 1857 year, by 1858 Act only. Okay, so if you eliminate that one, see all these B, C, D having 3, all are eliminated, you will come up with the answer A. Okay? Simple. This is the easiest way you can, just go for, or you can recollect these acts here. 1773 Act designated Governor General of Bengal and provided for establishment of Supreme Court at Calcutta. Am I right? Yes. Pitt's India Act 1784, dual system introduced. Board of Control, Court of Directors. Board of Control for what? Board of Control, British Parliament's representation, they will take care of Indian political affairs, territorial affairs, etc. Court of Directors, they will take care of the commercial affairs. Okay. Now see Charter Act 1813, end of trade monopoly except tea trade and trade with China. Then introduction of free trade. Then see 1 lakh for education and permission for Christian missionaries to travel India and propagate Christianity. 1833 Charter Act, you see, Governor General of Bengal become Governor General of India. Governor General of Bengal become Governor General of India, and first Governor General of India was William Bentinck. Centralization is completed. That means Bombay and Madras presidencies, their legislative powers totally subordinated to this, Kolkata presidency or Kolkata council. That will be the supreme body to legislate for entire India. Okay, and see that total centralization. William Bentinck is the first Governor General, and also yes, law member is added. Okay, law member is added to council, and the law member was Macaulay, Public Instruction Committee, and there is codification of law. Okay, all those things please take care. 1853 take care, separation of legislative executive councils, and there is a provision for open competitive exam for civil services, but it is in theory. Okay, so those things you take care, which is very much important. This is clear, na? This is clear. You need to write down. You need to write down. No? Understood? Okay. Why I say this? Fundamental points in base that UPSC questions ചോദിക്കുന്നുള്ളൂ. If the fundamental ideas are clear to you, most of the questions are answerable. Now we come across what? Yes, the colonial economic policies. The colonial economic policies. Can you name some colonial economic policies? Can you name some colonial economic policies? Eh? You heard something called mercantilism? Have you heard this mercantilism? What is this mercantilism? Eh? A mercantilism, you see that, for example, let us take the case of Britain, mother country Britain. Okay, what they do? They do maximum exports. They do maximum exports and minimum imports. You got the point? You got the point? What does it mean? What does it mean? I'm not hearing you. You say something. Maximum exports. Suppose Britain is the mother country. What the Britain will do? Britain will provide all incentives, subsidies to its producers. Okay. The manufacturers are getting all subsidies, all credit facilities, all everything is favoring them, and it to maximize production. Factory production is factory production is maximized, maximum production, and these finished products are sold in other countries. So to other countries they export maximum, but to mother country they buy minimum. From other countries, they are not buying much. They very limited quantity only they buy from other countries. So the balance of payment was always in favor of. Just try to understand. My expenditure is less. My income is high. Okay, that is in these, solid metals or in these valuable metals in gold and silver. I collected the return from the countries. I sold them or I sell them my finished products from my factories. In return, I collect gold and silver. By which by which, what happens here? What happens? My GDP, my GNP, that always will increase. Okay. എൻ്റെ രാജ്യത്ത് എനിക്ക് ഭയങ്കരമായിട്ട് അഭിവൃദ്ധി ഉണ്ടാവുന്നു. ഞാൻ മാക്സിമം മറ്റുള്ളവരിൽ നിന്ന് വാങ്ങുകയാണ് ചെയ്യുക. അപ്പോൾ ഇവിടെ മെർക്കന്റൈൽ പോളിസിൻ്റെ ഭാഗമായിട്ട് എന്താ ചെയ്യുന്നത്? They wanted maximum markets here. They wanted maximum markets to sell their products. Also, they require raw material. For production, they require raw material. So you see, as part of mercantilism, India was their most valuable colony. And what happened with India? India started supplying raw material. Okay, India started supply. India became a supplier of raw material, and India became a buyer of British products. Okay, India became a buyer of. Thank you. India became a buyer of British products. ആദ്യം ബ്രിട്ടീഷുകാർ എന്ത് ചെയ്തു? ബ്രിട്ടീഷുകാർ ഗോൾഡും സിൽവറൊക്കെ വെച്ചിട്ട് എന്ത് ചെയ്തു വെച്ചാൽ ഈ സാധനങ്ങൾ വാങ്ങി. പിന്നെ അവരെന്ത് വെച്ചാൽ ഇന്ത്യയുടെ കാശ് തന്നെ മുടക്കിയിട്ട് ഇന്ത്യയിലെ സാധനങ്ങൾ വാങ്ങാൻ തുടങ്ങി. റോ മെറ്റീരിയൽസേ. ഓക്കെ, നഷ്ടം ആർക്കാണ്? ഇന്ത്യക്കാർക്കാണ്. You got the point. അപ്പോൾ you see that British introduced some economic policies here. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ there is one way free trade policy. What is that one way free trade policy? Yes, European merchants and traders, they can sell their products in India with small taxes. But the Indian merchants selling in European markets, they have to pay high taxes, like 80%, 90%, etc. So do you think it is profitable for Indians? No. And for British manufacturers and traders, it is highly profitable. And laws are also in favor of them. Then they introduced another policy, commercialization of agriculture. What is that? They forced Indian cultivators to cultivate cash crops, which is high in demand in the European markets. That is what is called this indigo, opium, etc. You can't eat indigo. Indians require wheat, barley, rice, etc. But Indians are forced to cultivate these cash crops. Okay, they are forced to cultivate cash crops. So Indian agriculture is commercialized. The result was extreme poverty and famine. So through multiple policies, and their agrarian policies are there. You remember? Zamindari settlement, Mahalwari settlement, Ryotwari settlement. You remember? What was that? What was that? For example, Zamindari settlement. What was Zamindari settlement? A Zamindar is there. Zamindar is there. Now he become the owner of the land. British made him owner of the land. He is the collector of the revenue. Collector of revenue. He has to collect revenue from the farmer. Okay. This farmer, he is a tenant at will. He is totally at the mercy of Zamindar. He is totally left at the mercy of Zamindar. This man is supposed to ഇയാൾ മുഴുവൻ പണിയെടുത്തിട്ട് എന്താ വെച്ചാൽ കഷ്ടപ്പെട്ടുണ്ടാക്കി അത് ആർക്ക് കൊടുക്കണം? ജമീന്ദാറിന് കൊടുക്കണം. ജമീന്ദാറിന് ഇഷ്ടമുള്ളത് കളക്ട് ചെയ്യുക. ജമീന്ദാർ എന്ത് ചെയ്യണം? ഒരു പർട്ടിക്കുലർ ഡേറ്റിൽ സൺസെറ്റിന് മുമ്പായിട്ട് ബ്രിട്ടീഷിന് നിശ്ചിത വിഹിതം കൊടുക്കണം. ബാക്കിയുള്ളത് ജമീന്ദാറിനാണ്. അപ്പോൾ എന്ത് ചെയ്യും? ഇപ്പോൾ ബ്രിട്ടീഷ് പറയാണ് എനിക്ക് 100 തന്നോ, ബാക്കി നീ എടുത്തോ എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോഴത്തേക്കും ഈ ജമീന്ദാർ എന്ത് ചെയ്യും? 200 പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറയും. അപ്പോൾ പാവപ്പെട്ട ഫാർമർ എന്ത് ചെയ്യണം? ഏതവസ്ഥയിലും അത് പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യണം. When this farmer is not able to give to Zamindar, what will happen? He approached the money lender. അയാൾ എവിടെ ചെല്ലണം? ആൻഡ് ദ മണി ലെൻഡർ അയാളെ ചൂഷണം ചെയ്യും. ഓക്കെ, ഈ പാവപ്പെട്ട ടെനൻറ്റ് ഇയാൾക്ക് കൊടുക്കാൻ പറ്റിയില്ലെങ്കിൽ എന്ത് സംഭവിക്കും? എവിക്ഷൻ. അയാളുടെ പാട്ടെടുത്ത ഭൂമിയിൽ നിന്ന് അയാളെ ചവിട്ടി പുറത്താക്കും. അയാളുടെ ഭാര്യനെ ഉപദ്രവിക്കും, കുട്ടികളെ ഉപദ്രവിക്കും, കന്നുകാലികളെ പിടിച്ചോണ്ട് പോകും. Even this is danger for sunset. This Zamindar also. How it is dangerous for Zamindar? Because there is a clause, sunset clause is there. What is sunset clause? What is sunset clause? This Zamindar also has to pay to the British on the very before the sunset of that due date. അയാൾ എന്താണോ കൊടുക്കേണ്ടത്? ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ ഡിസംബർ 31 ഡിസംബർ 31 സൺസെറ്റിന് മുമ്പ് ഇയാൾ ബ്രിട്ടീഷിന് കൊടുത്തിരിക്കണം. അതർവൈസ് വാട്ട് വിൽ ഹാപ്പൻ? ഇയാളുടെ ജമീന്ദാരിയിലുള്ള ഭൂമി എന്ത് ചെയ്യും? ഇറ്റ് വിൽ ബി പുട്ട് ഇൻ ടു ഓപ്ഷൻ. ഓക്കെ, അത് ഓപ്ഷന് വെക്കും. അയാളിൽ നിന്ന് നഷ്ടപ്പെടും. കൂടുതൽ കാശ് ഓപ്ഷനിൽ ലേലത്തിൽ വിളിക്കുന്ന ആൾക്ക് തിരിച്ചു കൊടുക്കും. അപ്പോൾ ഈ ജമീന്ദാറിൻ്റെ ഭൂമി നഷ്ടപ്പെടും. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ജമീന്ദാരി സെറ്റിൽമെൻറ്റ് വിച്ച് വാസ് ഇൻട്രൊഡ്യൂസ്ഡ് ഇൻ ബംഗാൾ, ബീഹാർ, ഒഡീഷ. Then there is Ryotwari settlement. You remember? Ryotwari? Eh? Over the 50% of the land, Ryotwari is introduced, especially in the Madras presidency. This is revenue contract between this government and Ryot. Ryot എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ farmer, individual farmer. ഇവിടെ മിഡിൽമാൻ ഇല്ല, സെമീൻദാർ ഇല്ല, ഫാർമറുമായിട്ട് നേരിട്ടാണ് ഇടപാട്. ഇപ്പോൾ ഇവിടെ പ്രശ്നം എന്താണെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ പെർമനൻറ്റ് സെറ്റിൽമെൻറ്റ്, സെമീൻദാരി സെറ്റിൽമെൻറ്റ് ഒരു നിശ്ചിത കാലത്തേക്ക് ഒന്നും റിവേഴ്സ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ല. ഇവിടെ എല്ലാ വർഷവും എന്ത് ചെയ്യാം? റിവൈസ് ചെയ്യാം. ഓരോ വർഷം ഗവൺമെൻറ്റിന് കൂടുതൽ കൂടുതൽ ചോദിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കാം. ഓക്കെ, ദറ്റ് ഈസ് റിയോട്ട്വാരി സെറ്റിൽമെൻറ്റ് ഇൻ ദ മദ്രാസ് പ്രസിഡൻസി. Then there is Mahalwari settlement, you see, in the western part and all. Mahalwari. Mahalwari is with a mahal, with a village. A village is collectively responsible for the payment of revenue to British. ശരിയല്ലേ? You got the point? Colonial economic policies, how it affected Indian economy. What are the colonial economic policies? See, first two phases of exploitation. See, mercantilist phase is the 1757 to 1813 mercantilist phase. What is that mercantilist phase? I said this. Yeah, this is direct plunder. Company used Indian land revenue to buy Indian goods for export. A system called investment. Effectively, India was paying for its own exports. Initially, British used gold and silver to buy Indian goods. Later, they used Indian money to buy Indian goods. They used Indian money to buy Indian raw materials exported to British factories. Then the finished products are sold in Indian markets. Okay. So, mercantile phase, maximum. Yes, they wanted to maximize their exports. And see, India they used as supplier of raw material. India they used as supplier of raw material and buyer of British products. Buyer of British products. Okay, this is the way they used or they exploited this India as a colony. India become a supplier of raw material and a buyer of this British goods. See, industrial capitalist phase. 1813 Charter Act ended this monopoly. India became classic colony, a market for British textiles and sources of raw material. This marked the end of Indian industrial leadership. So you must understand that initially there is a single dominance, East India Company. Now you imagine when the free trade is introduced, all these European entities or European companies, especially British companies and these manufacturers, they are free. For example, Lancashire, Manchester textile lobbies. Okay, their goods are flooded in Indian markets here. Their goods are flooded. I mean, they are with very less, very nominal duties only. But on the other side, you imagine Indian merchants, Indian textile manufacturers, they can't afford the duties of European duties. Their goods are charged with 80%, 70%, 90% taxes. Who will be suffering? Indians are suffering. Who will be benefiting? European manufacturers are benefiting. Okay. So that you must understand that company used Indian land revenue to buy Indian goods for export, a system called investment. So initially they used on gold and silver. Then they started, revenue generation from Indian lands, Yes, they used for this buying Indian goods and transported to British factories. From there, the finished products are sold in Indian markets. Similar way, capitalist phase, industrial capitalist phase means only it benefited these European capitalists, British capitalists, no Indian capitalists. No benefit for Indian capitalists, okay? Or no benefit for Indian manufacturers and traders. It only benefited British manufacturers, British traders. Now see, 3 land revenue systems. Can you just note down? 3 land revenue systems. Actually, the personalities associated with them is favorite to UPSC's area. See, Zamindari settlement, it is Cornwallis. Ryotwari settlement, Thomas Munro, Alexander Reid. Mahalwari, Holt Mackenzie. This was already asked here. Zamindari, it is a fixed revenue permanently. It is like for 50 years or for 60 years, a fixed income. A fixed income demanded from farmers. So fact is simple, Zamindari settlement. I said in Zamindari settlement, yes, it is introduced by Lord Cornwallis, that is to stabilize the income of the company. Am I right? So you just look into this. It's a fixed revenue, or here you under this permanent settlement, Zamindari settlement, Zamindari is owner of land or collector of revenue. It is his responsibility to collect revenue from the tenants and give it to British. A fixed amount, for example 10 by 11 to British, 1 by 11 that is to the Zamindar. Any surplus if there, that surplus also goes to the Zamindar. Surplus also goes to Zamindar. Okay, in surplus produce, this government has no right. Any surplus in the produce, that goes to Zamindar. Okay, but you must understand that 10 by 11 must be paid to British. Now it is responsibility of the Zamindar, before the sunset of the due date, he has to collect the revenue and pay it to this British. If he is not able to pay, yes, that his Zamindari is auctioned and given to some highest bidder. That problem is there. So the problems of Zamindari settlement is absentee landlordism. എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ഈ ലാൻഡ് ഗ്രാമത്തിലുണ്ടോ? ലാൻഡ് ഗ്രാമത്തിലുണ്ടോ? അയാൾ വലിയ സിറ്റിയിലോ ടൗണിലേക്കും പാർക്കുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ ലാൻഡ് ഈ ഫാർമേഴ്സിൻ്റെ വെൽഫെയർ ടേക്ക് കെയർ ചെയ്യുമോ? Never. Will he invest into land? Never. He is only there for collecting revenue. He is appointing some revenue collectors, and these agents are supposed to collect revenue. They torture the farmer physically, mentally, all the way. Okay. So absentee landlordism is problem of Zamindari. Peasants lost all customary rights and they become tenants at will. Totally Zamindarinte ദയാവായ്പിന് വിധേയനായി പോകുന്ന ഒരവസ്ഥ. ഫാർമറിൻ്റെ കംപ്ലീറ്റ് റൈറ്റ്സ് നഷ്ടപ്പെടുന്നു. Then coming to Riotuari, introduced by Thomas Munro, Alexander Reed, it is direct settlement with the peasant. It is temporary settlement, not a permanent settlement. And here the advantage is every year the government can revise the revenue demand. Okay, advantage is the government can revise the revenue demand every year. Now see, British state become the supreme landlord. Tax rates often reached 50 to 60%. Mahalwari halt Mackenzie. It is with the village community, collective responsibility of payment of revenue. Collective responsibility of payment of the revenue. It destroyed communal village life. High taxes led to massive rural indebtedness. നിങ്ങൾ ആലോചിക്കുക, അവിടെ കളക്റ്റീവ് റെസ്പോൺസിബിലിറ്റി, ഒരു ഗ്രാമത്തിലെ മുഴുവൻ അന്തേവാസികൾക്കും കളക്റ്റീവ് റെസ്പോൺസിബിലിറ്റിയാണ് എന്തിൻ്റെ? റവന്യൂ പേയ്മെൻറ്റിൻ്റെ. ഓക്കെ, സോ ദിസ് ആർ ദ 3 types of land revenue systems devised by British government. There is Zamindari or permanent settlement, there is Mahalwari, there is Riotuari. Okay, please look into that. Hope I'm audible now. Is my voice is clear to everyone, online students? So this is clear now? This is clear? Clear to all? Shall we move on? Okay. Now what happened here? Just to see, I said it, when this British introduced the trade policy, the biggest issue here, yeah, Indian is audible? Audible? Okay. See, Indian manufacturers, traders, they were supposed to pay 70 to 80 percentage duty here. Okay, imported duty 70 to 80 percentage they have to pay there. And these British manufacturers, traders in India, just 2 percentage. Just 2 percentage only. See, British textiles entered India with a 2 percentage duty. Indian handlooms entering Britain faced 70 to 80 percentage duty. So this one-way free trade, it killed Indian manufacturers. You imagine here, what do you produce here? You produce, for example, cotton sari. Okay, so she is having her own company. Okay, you are having own company and you produce this cotton sari with some printing and all. And this cotton sari, every sari you charge 1,000 rupees. How many? 1,000 rupees. Okay, and you sell it in a British market. Now see, for every 1,000 rupees sari, you have to pay 800 as tax. പ്രാന്തുണ്ടോ? ഐ മീൻ യു സീ ദാറ്റ് ഒന്നും തിരിച്ചു കിട്ടാനില്ല, തന്നെ എല്ലാം നഷ്ടത്തിൽ കടമെടുത്തിട്ട് പിന്നെയും സീ നമ്മൾ എന്തിനാണ് ഒരു സാധനം വിൽക്കുന്നത്? പ്രോഫിറ്റിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ടാണ്, ശരിയല്ലേ? അപ്പോൾ ദ പ്രോബ്ലം ഈസ് ദാറ്റ്, ട്രൈ ടു അണ്ടർസ്റ്റാൻഡ് ദാറ്റ് these Indian manufacturers, they have to pay 80% or 70 to 80% tax in the European markets. They have to pay an import duties of this. Return is nothing. On other side, European manufacturers in India, just 2% nominal tax only. Even without a tax also they can sell here. The rules are very favorable for them. So this one-way free trade policy, actually, they have markets here. Okay, and our goods are, blocked there with heavy taxes. So many restrictions there. So this trade concept, it collapsed Indian industries. Indian industries deindustrialized. Systematically, Indian industries ruined. Not affordable. Raw materials not affordable. No European markets open. High taxes. And in India, not able to compete with the European goods. They are machine-made products. Cheaper. And with no taxes or very silly taxes. We are supposed to pay high taxes. So that one-way free trade policy collapsed Indian industries. Okay? Then farmers are forced to cultivate indigo and opium. We need wheat, barley and rice, etc. But we are forced to cultivate opium and indigo, etc. They are for European markets. We have to get an advance from these planters, European planters. We have to grow these, cultivate indigo, opium, etc. And we have to sell them at the price they say. Who say? These British say, or these planters say. So again, see that the Indian poor farmers, you just imagine what was the situation. You must respect the farmers here. Even today also, how hard they are working here. Am I right? See, even though they are working hard and they are not getting proper compensation. The situation is, I'm not talking about these, very rich farmers. Just to talk about the middle class farmers or, the poor farmers. They are toiling hard but are unable to meet the ends of life. Even the government system sometimes not favorable for middle class farmers or poor farmers. Maybe it is favorable for rich farmers. Okay, many poor farmers, because of this extreme poverty, extreme indebtedness, they commit suicides or they end their lives, etc. You see in the newspaper sometimes, even though that is not a good practice, but I think the governments and civil servants must have that civic boredom to support these agriculturist farmers in a way better, much better way. Suppose proper implementation of the schemes and policies, all civil servants can take care of. The justice delivery to farmers, we can take care of. The machinery has to take care. Now what will happen with the farmer? See, farmers' problems are like this. What kind of the problems they have? Forced labor. Forced labor. Eviction. Then there is indebtedness. Money lender torture. Excessive taxation. Then, come on, say. Forced cash crops cultivation. Indigo മൂന്ന് നേരം കുഴച്ചടിക്കാൻ പറ്റുമോ? ബ്രേക്ക്ഫാസ്റ്റ് ഡിന്നർ ലഞ്ച് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ട്? No. Cash crops cultivation. Then, come on. Eh? Oppression by middlemen. Who are the middlemen here? That is, zamindar is there. Zamindar is there. Revenue collectors are there. All these people oppress them like anything, and ultimately they are in the perpetual famine, or sorry, this poverty. Extreme poverty. Okay, extreme famine. These were the results of this British agricultural, or maybe this, yes, commercial policies. So this you please try to understand. This is clear? Clear to everyone? Moving on. Drain of wealth. See, this is a unilateral flow. Unilateral flow means all goes to Britain, not to India. Everything is going there, not coming here. See, all these wealth in multiple forms they are looting, in the form of dividend, in the form of salary, pension, or tribute to this crown, or in the form of interest for capital investment. See, railway investment, they are getting a 5% assured interest back. Okay. So in the form of interest for capital investment, in the form of dividend, in the form of profit, in the form of these tributes, in the form of salary, in the form of bribe, in the form of raw material, in multiple forms they are looting from India. But nothing we are getting in return. Okay. So it is a unilateral flow. Home charges, I already said home charges. What is home charges? See, home charges, salaries, pensions, incentives for British officials in London, and these British officials from India to England on leave or after retirement, they're all payments from this Indian treasury only. Am I right? Then see, military spending. This British is fighting so many wars outside India, all expenditure met from India. Then corporate profits, dividends to these companies, shareholders, tribute to the crown, all is paid from here. Okay, all the way they looted the wealth out of the nation. But you must understand that not even a single penny they spent for Indian welfare. Nothing is, everything they looted, but nothing is spent for the welfare of Indians. That is the biggest problem. Okay, drain of wealth. Can you answer this? Can you answer this? Answer can be? With reference to revenue collection of conveyance, consider the following. Under Riotuary settlement of revenue collection, peasants were exempted from revenue payment in case of bad harvest and natural calamities. Any condition. See, British atrayum bhayangara ദയാവായ്പുള്ളവരായിരുന്നോ? മോനെ നിനക്ക് ഉവാവു ആണെങ്കിൽ പൈസ തരണ്ട, റെസ്റ്റ് എടുത്തോ എന്നൊക്കെ പറയുന്ന ഒരു അവസ്ഥയായിരുന്നോ? Never. See, Under Riotuari, peasants were exempted from revenue payment in case of bad harvest, natural calamities. ബ്രിട്ടീഷിന് അത് അറിയേണ്ട കാര്യമില്ല. ഓക്കെ, നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇനി എന്താണെങ്കിലും ശരി, ഇനി തൂറ്റലാണെങ്കിലും ശരി, ഇനി തിന്നാനില്ലെങ്കിലും കുടിക്കാനില്ലെങ്കിലും ശരി, യു ഹാവ് ടു പേ. ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞ സിറ്റുവേഷനാണ്. എത്രയോ ഫാർമേഴ്സ് മരിച്ചു പോയിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു വരുന്ന പോയിന്റ് എന്താ വെച്ചാൽ, പ്രോപ്പറായിട്ട് തിന്നാനും കുടിക്കാനൊന്നും അവർക്കില്ല. ചിലപ്പോൾ ഭയങ്കര മോശം ഹാർവെസ്റ്റ് ആയിരിക്കും, ചിലപ്പം ഭയങ്കര വൃത്തികെട്ട ക്ലൈമറ്റ് ആയിരിക്കും, ഒടുക്കത്തെ മഴയായിരിക്കും, ഫ്ലഡ് ആയിരിക്കും, ഇനി അതല്ലെങ്കിൽ മഴയേ ഉണ്ടാവില്ല. ശരിയല്ലേ? അത്രയും മോശം അവസ്ഥയിലൂടെ കടന്നു പോകുമ്പോൾ ബ്രിട്ടീഷ് ഒരിക്കലും ഒരു ദയാവായ്പും ഇല്ല. ദേ ഹാവ് ടു പേ. Under the permanent settlement in Bengal, if the zamindar failed to pay his revenue on or before the due date, he would be removed from his zamindari. അത് ശരിയാണ്. അതിനല്ലേ നമ്മൾ സൺസെറ്റ് ലോ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞത്. സോറി, Under Riotuari settlement of revenue collection, peasants were exempted from revenue payment in case of bad harvest and natural calamities. നിങ്ങൾ ആ ഒരു കോൺസെപ്റ്റ് മാത്രം എടുത്തു നോക്കൂ. ആയിക്കോട്ടെ, അങ്ങനെ ആണെങ്കിൽ പോലും ആ സിസ്റ്റം ശരിയല്ലല്ലോ, ആ സ്റ്റേറ്റ്മെൻറ്റ് ശരിയല്ലല്ലോ. ശരിയാണോ? അല്ല. പക്ഷെ രണ്ടാമത്തത് ശരിയാണ്. കാരണം അതിലെന്ത് ക്ലോസ് ഉണ്ട്? സൺസെറ്റ് ക്ലോസ് ഉണ്ട്. ശരിയല്ലേ? On or before the sunset of that due date, he has to pay. Otherwise, his land will be taken and put in the auction. Now here I will go for two only. Who among the following was or were associated with the introduction of Riotuari settlement in India during this British rule? Cornwallis, Alexander, Thomas Munro. ആരൊക്കെയാണ്? 2 and 3. The staple commodities of export by English East India Company from Bengal to Europe. Can you make some answer? Exporting oil seeds, it much later. It is not in the middle of the 18th century. It is in the 19th century. Sugar, salt, zinc, lead, etc. Zinc, lead, we don't have that much deposits here. Copper, silver, gold, spices and tea. Silver, gold, they actually bought from England to buy Indian items initially. So no chance. But cotton, silk, saltpeter and opium, as early as the middle of the 18th century, these items are the most available commodities from Bengal, Bihar, Odisha. They exported to England. The tendency for increased litigation was visible after introduction of land settlement system by Cornwallis. Reason for this normally traced to which of the following provisions? Can you say? Tendency for increased litigation was visible. More people approaching the court, filing the cases. It is visible after introduction of land settlement system of Cornwallis 1793. Reason for this is normally traced to which of the following provisions? Which one? That can be the reason. That can be the reason. Do you think this judicial system made more efficient? If judicial system is more efficient, how can be backlog of cases here? There is huge backlogs of cases. If judicial system is efficient, എങ്ങനെ ഇങ്ങനെ കെട്ടിക്കിടക്കും? അപ്പോഴത്തെ കാര്യമാണ്. People filing more cases. Making zamindar position stronger. Not sensible. Making East India Company overload of zamindar. Already overload. Then see, making judicial system more efficient. No chances for all the three cases. I will go for this D. Privatization of land, the sunset clause, and this so-called, what is called problems they face with the money lenders. Many tensions are not these reasons. Certain terms are there. You see, Diwani rights, what does it mean? Diwani rights. See, right to collect land revenue and administer civil justice. All the fiscal rights goes to company. All the responsibilities, law and order responsibilities goes to Nawab of this Bengal. He has only responsibility. British East India Company has full this financial power, authority. Diwani rights is fiscal power. Okay, that is land revenue power and this, administering civil justice power. Dual government is, yes, company held the real power. On the other side, Nawab has only responsibility. Sunset clause is with the zamindari settlement. Yes, before the sunset of the due date, that zamindar is supposed to pay the British, otherwise his land will be taken and put in the auction. Okay. The hierarchy is, this is 1919, as part of Government of India Act 1919. Provincial subjects are divided as transferred and reserved subjects. All the powerful departments, goes to governor and his council. All these responsible departments goes to, expenditure departments goes to these elected Indian ministers. Okay, that is a double government system. So see, reserved subjects are like this. Police, finance, justice all goes to governor and his council. Then transferred subjects like education, health, agriculture, responsible departments goes to Indian ministers. Now the governor has no answerability to legislature. Governor and his members has no answerability to legislature. He has full power, no responsibility, only authority. And all that, income power is there, income departments with him. But the elected Indian ministers, transferred subject goes to Indian ministers. They have no authority, only responsibility. They have answerability to legislature. Economic terms, you see, mercantilism. Early economic policy of the company. Goal was to buy Indian goods as cheaply as possible and sell them in Europe at a massive profit. Okay, it's simple. It is simply to maximize the revenue of the mother state. More exports, minimum imports. Okay, or you see that it is squeezing the wealth of these colonies. Okay, increasing the GDP and GNP of the mother state. See, laissez-faire, this is free trade policy. British forced India to adopt a free trade, removing tariffs on imported British machine-made goods, which flooded the Indian market. See, the taxes on British goods are removed so that they are flooded in Indian markets. But the Indian goods there, you see. Okay, so British lobbies, they can sell their products in Indian markets, without the taxes. See, drain of wealth formulated by Dadabhai Nauroji, that is, the wealth of the nation is looted in multiple ways. As home charges, pension, salaries, tributes, gift, bribe, or raw material, in multiple forms it is looted, but not, a proportionate amount is not spent for the welfare of Indians. All is looted. Drain of wealth. Home charges, specific portion of drain of wealth, consisting fund remitted from Indian revenues to England for maintaining these administrative expenses of, Indian administration. They are maintaining an office there. Their salary, pension, incentives paid from Indian, revenue. Tinkatia system, you heard of Tinkatia system? This we will study later. So this is an exploitative system where, Yes, this is, forced cultivation. Forced cultivation of 3 out of 20 unit of land, forced cultivation of this, indigo in Chambaran district, Bihar. So you see, these type of the terms are very much important. Terminology from modern India also they ask. Okay. So here, I would say, now I am winding up today's session. In the coming 3 days, we will have the remaining portions and we will wind it up. So just to have an idea, few things you take care, that European arrival. Okay, the order of this European arrival, their establishments in India, their first factories. Then you see the British East India Company. British East India Company, their establishment, their popular reforms, their policies, especially constitutional reforms, Regulating Act 1773 to 1858 Act, and see some important measures they undertook for, consolidating their power here, or maybe conquering the territories, you see, through territorial, through wars and through this diplomacy. There is subsidiary alliance, subordinate union, or this policy of ring fence, doctrine of lapse, etc. Then their economic policy. You see their mercantile policy, their industrial policy, or their land revenue settlements. You see there is a Zamindari settlement, Mahalwari settlement, Riyotuwari settlements, etc. You have to focus. So today's is an introductory session. You at least go to basic ideas about this particular British colonialism, and also you got an idea about the basic timeline of events from 1707 to 1947. We have seen different divisions there. So in the coming session, we will come across the socio-religious reform movements, national awakening, or these Indian responses to British rule, or this 1857 revolt, then these early phases of Indian nationalism, okay, British education policies, etc. we will cover in the next session. After that, in 2 sessions, we will cover the freedom struggle. Okay, just one introductory module given to you. Rest you can collect. You have afternoon session today. No issues. We'll upload as PDFs in the groups, and you can take the printouts from the front office today by evening. Okay, just revise these portions, and whatever the slides I am sharing in the groups, please revise it. In the group Durandar, our prelims Durandar master revision group, I will share the slides, selected slides. All the slides you please revise for today, and whatever the materials I am sharing, just revise. Summary sheets I am sharing, just revise. And tomorrow no class, day after tomorrow. Tomorrow no class. I mean, tomorrow you have no modern India revision. You have? You have exam tomorrow, Sunday exam. Next classes will be on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. By Wednesday we will finish it off. So don't ignore these modern India policies and these things and all. So coming sessions, more questions would be there, more areas would be there. Okay, that's it. We are winding it up. Thank you.